Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, races, sizes, shapes, and any other descriptive term you can use. Any person of all adjectives, welcome to the Court Martial Podcast, where the big boys play. And look at that adjective, play. We're not here to play, we're here to review SummerSlam 2024. And this is going to be quite a fun time. We're going to try and move this along because the good thing is most of us here at the Court Martial Podcast really enjoyed the show. And when we end up endorsing the content, we have a lot less to bitch about. And when we have a lot less to bitch about, we actually get some point across without being too redundant. But that's my job. And the guy to call me out on my redundancy, who works at the Department of Redundancy Department all the way in San Jose, the man of the hour, the man with the power too sweet to be sour. He is the Bay Area Brawler himself, Skyler Greenberg. How are you doing, mon frere?
I'm doing fine, although I must say, your intros are getting better.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. It's definitely my hit ratio sometimes, and thankfully that we are 4 years in and I'm finally starting to put it together. But speaking of somebody who puts it together when he feels like it, wherever he feels like it, however he feels like it, we have the man who has the totally awesome podcast and the post-tap. And you'd ask about the pre-tap, but he always makes sure to get that protection first. So you never see the pre-tap. It's just the tap and the post-tap and that sweet cigarette afterwards. It's JoshAgeddon. How you doing, buddy?
I always tap so hard that it makes me pre. Welcome to the Totally Awesome Podcast. As the runway is being run over by this airplane all of a sudden, thank you guys for joining this simulcast as we review SummerSlam.
Now, hold on. I have a question already.
Yes.
Where's Money in the Bank?
You see,
long
you
story
see...
short, basically, it was a lost episode. We attempted to try and record it. It didn't happen. We'll probably talk about that review as we go through this one. Let me just say right now, audio is a bitch.
And it was a show that was totally going to happen. And I totally saw all of the show, and I definitely had comments about it.
And also the fact that, it's Money in the Bank, and you and me, particularly Sean, do not like Money in the Bank.
I mean, I'm just tired of the concept, but I was also being a little, how long has it been? 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Okay, great. I was being a little bitch that day. So, that kind of stuff happens. It's just the way it is. I'm not going to get into the details, but it's all good.
8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. That's Joshua's official score for Money in the Bank. 8 out of 10.
I would have given it a 6 out of 10, honestly.
All right, I'll just to split the difference, I'll say 7. But let's talk about... That was your quicker thoughts, Money in the Bank. Your overall thoughts on the biggest party of the summer, Skyler?
Well, it definitely was the biggest party of the summer in Cleveland. This was a show that before it began, I looked at the card and I said, boy, does this show have potential. But not only did they have the potential, but I think they reached that potential to give one of the best shows of the year.
I can't disagree with that. My opinion, seeing how I always end up going last year, I'll just change it up. I really enjoyed the show. As soon as I saw that 7 singles matches were on the card, I'm like, yes, me likey this. Give me 7 singles matches. Say what you want to say about my opinions regarding how little the tag team division matters anymore. 7 singles matches is nothing to shake a stick at, and that is one of the first times I can recall in a long time that it's just been a gamut of 7 singles matches, but it didn't get boring. The show kept moving. They were on their times. The production was great. And pretty much every match delivered exactly what you wanted and a little bit more. So I am one happy sponge. JoshAgeddon.
I agree with both of you. I thought it was a very good show. I enjoyed my time watching. Again, good Lord, that feedback is crazy. But yeah, I thought it was a very good show.
And, we're going to break this down step by step, and we're going to whip out that vacuum cleaner and step inside it as we examine all of these matches from start to finish.
And a mini concert with Jelly Roll.
I skipped that.
I wish we could stick Jelly Roll in a vacuum.
Me too.
But actually, truthfully, I didn't hate his concert. I thought the concert itself was fine. I really liked when they did the opening with him playing live with his band of merry, fat, flubby, schlubby guys, and interweaving that with the B-roll of the introduction, so you got like half live and half tape. It was a really different approach, and I appreciate them trying new things. They did a lot of that tonight.
I'm sure the film major in you was enjoying them trying different cinematography things, right?
I did. I had a good time seeing them experiment right in front of our very eyes, and not like Kevin Dunn, this is a bad idea, but I'm going to do it anyway because I can't see the screen because my teeth are too big. But this was more of just let's see how we can kind of pizzazz this up and give even the camera angles a little sizzle to that steak. Anything to add about Joshua? Do you want to talk about when Triple H came out and said "Welcome to Hunter Slam"?
Well, again, I was not watching a damn thing until the second the Jelly Roll rolled out of the ring. So yeah, I'll just leave my thoughts and opinions on Jelly Roll at that. Not a fan.
Well, that's fair enough. I and right in my notes, right before we get to the first match, I wrote, I know Joshua won't like that, but I enjoyed it.
Accurate.
So you were in my thoughts and prayers. And we begin, speaking of thoughts and prayers, we have the Women's World Championship between Liv Morgan and Mommy Rhea Ripley with Dominic Mysterio at her side. What were your thoughts, JoshAgeddon, seeing how you didn't really see much of the intro, but I know you saw this?
This is the best match that Liv Morgan has ever had. It pains me to give her compliments, but she and Rhea did very good on this opening contest. Easily the best match that Liv's ever had, and not one of the best matches Rhea's ever had. She's had much better, but it was still a great way to kick off the show overall.
I mean, that's the thing, is that, like, is this match good because Liv Morgan was in it, or because Rhea Ripley carried her?
I say the former instead of the latter.
Exactly the point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, Rhea was terrific, but to Liv's credit, she has looked a lot worse with equally caliber wrestlers. Like, as much as I liked Liv and Becky Lynch, compared to that match, this match was on a different level. Like, her crispness was better. They have chemistry through Rhea and Liv, and that actually really helps make Liv look and feel more important. And kind of the tagline on what JoshAgeddon said, he said this was the best match Liv has ever had. I'll go one step further and say this is the best match Liv will ever have.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I mean, I kind of felt that way right as the finish ended. I'm like, this is the peak, isn't it? Like it's.
I mean, the other hard part too is that like this wasn't really much of a technical wrestling match. There was a lot of like sports entertainment storytelling bullshit in it.
Well, yeah. But I think that was also the way you had to play this, given the size difference. Like if they tried to have a technical masterpiece, conceptually and in the perception of I think the fans, everyone would expect Rhea to just crush Liv, you know. So they needed a little bit of that pizzazz to say that's my word of the day apparently to start to really kind of shake things up. I loved the cat and mouse at the beginning. What did y'all think of Ref Cam?
I really liked it. I thought it was very unique, and it really gave like an interesting perspective, like you're actually like in the match, like closer you've ever been before. And they didn't do it to where you could see them like calling spots or anything, or the referee getting instructions. They were very selective in when they were wanting to do that.
Yeah, like stupid selective. I thought it was really funny because let me ask you this: when did they use it in a match all night?
They
used it before the match. They
Yeah.
used it on the way to the ring. They used it to watch Seth Rollins high five a bunch of teenage kids, and then that's it.
They went to it when Liv and Rhea were in a rest hold at one point.
I wonder if that's going to be like an option, kind of like how there's alternative broadcasts that you watch of regular sports, where they have a broadcast where it's just the ref cam.
Well, that's possible. I would also counter that I'm imagining that most of that was probably just that the footage wasn't any good.
I would also guess that there are going to be issues when we come up to the Seth Rollins match. It was an issue with the ref cam.
Well, we're going to get to that, but this match started out with this kind of cat and mouse and Liv being kind of elusive and Rhea trying to get her hands on her, and
then when she finally did, Rhea Ripley absolutely kicked Liv Morgan's ass.
Right, which is exactly what you want, you know? That, like, I loved the instant powder, you know? Immediately Liv's like, oh, hell no, I'm not going face-to-face with you. Like, it was all really good, you know? I loved when Rhea Ripley snuck back in and started, and I think came in, and there was this camera angle that Lee Fitting chose, and I just want to say this is a great country, and I love how round and firm this country is. Thank you, Lee Fitting, for reminding me of
remember, Rhea Ripley's from Australia, so when you're saying country, you mean Australia.
Whatever makes the visual work for you, buddy.
Man, Sean loves whatever's down under.
Land down under. Yeah.
Skyler, damn it! Why do we have the same joke at the same time?
Now's a good time to mention that I'm a big fan of cheesecake. Anyway, Rhea sends Liv out to the outside. She's got some gut punches, and Rhea lays her strikes in. She does. She punches better than half of the guys do. And this is no surprise. You know, we all feel this way about Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
And then the commentary went into some weird Bob Ross discussion. I'm not even sure what the point of it was.
I vaguely remember that, and even I messaged in the chat. I was like, "What the hell are they talking about?"
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't think they knew. And it's just, even they were like, "What's happening at this commentary table?" But to the credit, I will say this, and this is one of my bigger takes here, that Michael Cole, Pat McAfee, and Corey Graves may be the best combination three-man booth WWE has ever had.
The lowest of bars.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with that, but at the same time,
unless you were a big fan of Michael Cole, JBL, and Jerry the King Lawler from 2012.
Oh, you mean like when somebody went through a table right in front of Jerry and everybody was silent, and then Jerry, just in the need to obligatorily break the silence, says, "Come on!" And then just more silence? Yeah, great time. Yeah, that was a rough time. Jerry Lawler's 2013 commentary.
Ball game!
Yeah. Oof. Oof, Maggle. Oof.
Ball game.
Yes, Rhea Ripley continuously kicks Liv Morgan's ass until she runs into the post with her shoulder.
Oh, Lord.
Now, this was my favorite part of the whole show. Not this spot with Rhea Ripley, but this ongoing gag that the three of us had that made us pop for 5 consecutive matches.
Basically, yeah.
It didn't start popping until the third match. I'm like, is every match going to have a shoulder into the post?
Yeah.
And then we were watching like a hawk, hoping that every single match would have it. And every time someone ran into the post, we were like, yes! Another one! Hell yeah! Do it again!
Exactly what I was doing.
Do it again!
Every time that happened, it was great. And even when I was, like, losing interest in, like, well, I don't want to say losing interest, but even when I was, like, kind of souring a little bit on Bailey and Nia Jax, then they did it, and that woke me right back up. And 6 out of the 7 matches on this night had a shoulder into the post spot.
Dude, when they didn't have it in the world title match, I was so disappointed. I was like, I want to give this show a 5 out of 10 just for that.
Yeah. Well,
it could have been very easy. Well, I mean, we'll get to it. But yeah, Rhea Ripley, in addition to great offense, is also great at selling because there was a good 30 seconds where, like, did she pull her shoulder out of her socket?
Yeah, and it kind of looked it too, and she did a great job going down. Dominic showing somewhat concern, and boy,
Josh was, I mean, no, dude, she's telling her for me to get in. I'm like, yeah, you're right, Joshua.
And it's, but man, it was, and I thought it was just selling two, but man, it was hard to tell there for a little bit.
Yeah.
And, it was hard to tell, and I guess the vacuum ran out of batteries. We have escaped the wet dry vac, though.
I mean, there is a tropical storm nearby, so... Oh, no. It's back!
Connecticut is about to get 7 inches of rain, so, it's the, but in any case, it was a damn convincing.
I'm just going to enjoy my sunny golden California weather, thank you.
You're welcome. And the best part about this is, as Rhea was selling this, is that the commentary did an expert job of adding to that selling.
They really did. They really did.
They really did. And I got to give credit particularly to Pat McAfee, because his sports analytics, or as much as you can give Pat that kind of accolade, but his sports background really helps with being able to sell what injury looks and feels like. And it's they did a really good job here. And, it was a great way to get the heat onto Liv in a way that made sense, and could actually allow her to kind of get some offense. And they did the commentary cam like UFC on the replay. That one I liked.
One thing about it, though, that I noticed, when they were showing Rhea's shoulder, and it really looked like maybe some damage was done. You remember when Alexa Bliss would, make her elbow bend backwards and pretend like her arm was broken? That's kind of what I was thinking when Rhea was doing that.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And to this point, I do kind of miss Alexa Bliss. I won't lie to you.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, because she's better Liv Morgan.
She's a Liv Morgan that can work.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen Alexa and Rhea have a match like this, but in any case...
Oh, that would have been good.
But, God, I hope Alexa's doing well.
Alexa Bliss feels like the new AJ Lee. She's never going to come back, even though we want her to come back.
Well, we don't know that for sure. I mean, it's very possible, but, she was the Vince girl, I think. I think Vince took a liking to her, and she may not be a Triple H guy. I think her Triple H guy. I think she could be a Triple H guy for all I know.
It is 2024.
Just because I've joked about having Alexa Bliss peg me in the past doesn't mean
What the fuck?
I had totally forgotten about that until you brought it back up.
Yeah, just put on a strap-on named Lily.
Yeah, she,
The Lily strap-on doll.
So Rhea starts making a comeback.
Oh, yeah, she's making a comeback, alright.
Yeah.
after she popped her shoulder back in by running it into the announce table.
And the announcers sold that great, too.
Yeah, they did. They did. Grotesquely.
Yes.
Like, oh, God. But it was perfect. They had chemistry. Rhea tried to do the riptide, but she couldn't get all of it because she only had one arm. She did the what the hell's the name of her submission? But she didn't get all of that because she only had one arm.
The prism lock.
Yes, but this was an unlocked prism lock.
Yes. This was a prism.
And then we get to the angle part of this match.
Mm-hmm.
That will not be the only time you hear me say that tonight.
Yeah.
And then we get to the angle part of this where, you know, the chair comes into play because Liv brings it in and then Rhea thwarts it, but then Rhea's thinking about revenge. And then Dominic ends up being like the voice of reason. I don't know if I loved that, but fine, considering what was coming up next. Fine. But he ends up being like, no, you cannot win that way. You gotta win clean, so then I can fuck you over. Because I'm actually fucking the other one now.
I'm glad you added the word over.
Yeah. And but they did the Oblivion false finish off that, which was great and maybe the best one that Liv has ever given.
Dude, that was one of the best false finishes of the entire show.
Yeah, the crowd crowd was into that.
The crowd bought that hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to give it to Cleveland. They stayed pretty active all night until they were just exhausted come the main event.
Yeah.
But Cleveland held its own. I wasn't sure how Cleveland was going to do, but they held their own on this day.
Mm-hmm.
I was proud of an American crowd having kind of an energy worthy of being on a big show.
Dude, you would have been ashamed of America if you saw last week's Raw. The crowd was practically silent for 3 hours.
But where were they?
I can't remember, but it was quiet.
Yeah, because there's some markets that are just like hand-sitters.
Yeah.
You know, there's active crowds, and then there's, like, Tucson. And it's like, but anyway. But then, after the false finish, and then Dominic finally does what we kind of anticipated he'd do. He slid the chair in for Liv to hit another Oblivion, but he distracts the referee. Liv hits the Oblivion on the chair, just like what happened with Becky.
Dude.
But not unintentional this time.
Honestly, these are the two best-looking Oblivions that Liv's ever done, mostly because Rhea Ripley's really good at bumping like that.
Yep.
And the one on the chair looked brutal.
It did. It did. And then the cover, and you knew, and the fans you could feel the devastation. Because the fans really love Rhea, but man, does this completely cement her as a babyface.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, it's not just that, but like the afters.
Yep, because Liv wins this belt, and then here comes Dirty Dom, who gave one of the most forced kisses I have ever seen in my life.
And threw away his marriage all at the same time.
It looked like he was throwing up in his mouth. He looked like he didn't want to do it. It's like, and maybe that's because, he's married.
Yeah. But we're not supposed to talk about that.
Yeah, that's not real. Only WWE things are real.
Yeah.
But the outrage from commentary, specifically Michael Cole, I don't know if JR has ever had a "you son of a bitch" as good as Michael Cole had there.
You two-timing son of a bitch.
It was so good.
Exact words. It was really good. It was really
good.
Dude.
And McAfee, who was talking about earlier, like something brown, and then later on, at the end of this match, says, "Dominic, you piece of shit."
The funniest part was he was trying so hard not to say it, and Michael Cole gives him permission.
It's alright, son. It's premium live event.
This isn't Fox. They can't turn the screen black.
That actually is a thing where WWE, in a report earlier today, said that they're going to be using more excessive language going forward when the situation calls for it.
Well, that's just it. As we're getting vacuum subscribers, which is great. Thanks for tuning in to this Auric presentation.
Yeah.
And we
appreciate the donations.
But in any case,
go to our OnlyFans in the description.
Yes, onlyvax.com /CMP for 30% off. And in any case,
and Sean will send you his own very sweaty video.
Yes, it was beautifully done. It was beautifully sold. This is one of those times when commentary really added to the show and really added to this match in a way that really helped get the point across better than had it been without. But that's no knock on any of the people who act, like the people in Cleveland were still along for the ride for this whole thing. But for us at home, having the commentary there definitely was helpful, which has not always been the case with WWE, so I appreciate their ability to sell the moment.
Dude, I have come around so hard on Michael Cole. He has improved so dramatically.
It's amazing what not having Vince in your ear will do.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, yes, we're going to wax poetic about these guys because they've improved so much, but now that the standard is going to be raised higher because now we're expecting it rather than wanting it, they still knocked it out of the park. Like, commentary all night, I felt was adding something to each and every match and each and every moment as it came up.
Agreed.
And
They're making sure that it's no longer speaking down to us, but rather educating us about this. Again, treating wrestling like a sport.
And also treating the fans like they're not 6 years old either. They're giving us information, but they're just relaying to us information. You know, it's not nearly the, oh, this is what we're doing because you're a fucking idiot. And
welcome to Weenie Hut Jr. How may I help you?
I'm still the man around here. Anyway. I will never forget that. Michael Cole, table spot, checks notes. I'm still the man around here.
Or Shane McMahon jumping off the cell, Michael Cole furiously looking at this piece of paper. For the love of mankind!
Yeah.
No emotion on his face. No extra subs to his YouTube channel or his OnlyFans. Just blankly looking at this paper and just shouting.
Oh, it's so much nice.
Hashtag anal bleeding.
Going from that very, very weird interpretation of Michael Cole, Judgment Day, speaking like a man, telling people what the hell is going on, find Dom or something or whether.
Yes, and he pins Finn to the wall and says, "Where's my vacuum subscriber count increase?" And then he also says, "You know, was it you? Was it you?" And he's like, "Bro, don't do that to me. I'm Irish." And he's like, "All right."
Yeah, boo.
Yeah,
dude.
I'm mad.
Dude, you know, if Finn Balor had an OnlyFans, every time someone subscribed to it, it should just be a loud "Yeah, boo" sound effect.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, he needs that to be his. That needs to be the beginning of his entrance theme.
Oh yeah, get on it, Def Rebel. Get on it, Def Rebel.
Yeah, and maybe get some hearing aids or something, because like we can't have deaf people making our music, and it very much sounds like a lot of the music is coming from deaf people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Unlike two industry-busting artists who are taking the world by storm.
Oh,
that's right.
What a segue.
Namely me, Sean McCarty, who is releasing a Sean McCarty piano album come December. But there's a ton of stuff coming up. As a matter of fact, we've got Bizzle and myself who are working on a little side project here, a little set of 4 tracks that's coming up. That's called 4 Set, literally 4 Set, which is hopefully to be released at the end of August, if not middle of September. I'm not quite sure where we are with that. It's all recorded. We're just getting the editing and distribution lined up. But folks, new music on the way from White Nux and Bizzle, the two men who have gone through a hell of a lot over the past year and a half, including a baby and a musical baby. And so we've got both of those now on our backs, and we are going to take those and climb all the way up the mountain, the music industry mountain, break it down, and rebuild from the ashes. And if you're not down with that, then make sure you subscribe to both the Spotify and the Apple Music and the SoundCloud, where all of the extra bonus content lies. Come join the entertainment revolution. Navy Productions CT.
I have 2 things to say. 1, big congratulations to Bizzle for having the baby. 2, yes. That is the luckiest baby ever. I wish Sean was my aunt instead.
Well, that would require me to wear a dress, and it's currently at the dry cleaners. And speaking of cleaning shit up,
dude,
it's the Intercontinental title match between Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker.
Okay.
Hold on. You mean Braun Breaker or Braun A. Bizzle? Because he wore A. Bizzle's singlet.
He did wear the tiger print singlet that A. Bizzle used to wear at CIW. I made a point to note that.
That was so hilarious.
That was funny. And also, before we get into this, I forgot to mention, when that scene, that backstage segment came up where Damian Priest started lull raging, it opened up with Carlito just then ago going, "I couldn't believe you do that, man. Why is he here?
You ask that every time he appears on a screen.
Because this is as pressing a matter as what did Sonya Deville do?
No, it is not. There was an explanation at the beginning of his tenure at what was the Judgment Day. Because...
Oh, please, Tell me.
Well, you don't watch Raw, so let me explain. Okay, so when the draft happened, Carlito was feuding with Rey Mysterio and the LWO. All of them were drafted to Raw, so he went over to the Judgment Day basically saying, please help, I'm outnumbered 20-1, please help, I'll give you an apple, please help, Rhea's hot, I like PS5s. And then him and Dominic bonded because they're both, because Mexicans and Caribbeans are the same, I guess.
Also, for being honest, Carlito was a friend of Eddie Guerrero, so if you want to call it estibation, that's estibation right there.
Little bit.
Was it mention the custody battle match? They didn't mention it?
They did.
And while you were explaining that to me, I was hitting my weed pen like that Matthew McConaughey meme, trying to store all that shit out and make sense of it. So, okay, Carlito. And by the way, that's not a knock on Carlito. I like Carlito a lot. I'm glad he's on WWE programming. That's not a knock. It's just every time I see him, I'm like, what are you here for?
Well, he's here for a check. It's just like everybody else.
And speaking
That's
of
right.
Sonya Deville has you're not ready for this, Sean. Sonya Deville has an evil trio where she leads both Zoe Stark and the corpse of Shayna Baszler. And they're really trying hard to make that a thing on Raw. And every time they appear on my screen during Raw, I press the skip button.
I will take that over Sonya just being a WWE official, which took us 3 years to actually find that she had a title, let alone what her job description was, which we never found out.
Oh, and
We never got an answer to that.
they also gave her a new finishing move and a name for it. It's basically the Eye of the Hurricane, except they call it Deville's Advocate.
Okay, that's pretty funny. that's
And
pretty
it
funny.
looks like garbage. And Finn Balor does
But
the
do you
same
wanna know
thing.
what doesn't look like garbage?
What?
Rex
Braun
Stein-
Breaker spearing himself into the post.
Yeah, and the post sold it very well.
And at this point, you're like, oh, we did it. You know, you're like, oh, posting a second time. And I was like, okay. I mean, that happens. I mean, there's a lot of move usage. I mean, look at the other program if you want to see moves done to death. But every so often we get a through line. I'm not that upset with it. I did find it kind of strange that there were 2 shoulder cell angles, though, in a row.
Yeah.
But,
Although
It's
Braun
okay.
didn't break his shoulder with his.
no, he just...
He doesn't quite have the murderous intent on Sami Zayn that Rhea Ripley had with Liv Morgan.
No, that's right. Well, actually, that was kind of the whole premise of this rematch, was like, I was reckless last time. I am not making that mistake this time. And I loved that as far as, like, why Braun Breaker got this rematch. And then it really sold how he won.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is how you get a guy like this over.
On that point, dude, there were so many people that were whining and moaning. This match wasn't as good as the match they had at Money in the Bank. And I'm like, dude, it's not that hard to follow. They weren't going out there to have a 5-star classic in the Tokyo Dome. That wasn't what the point of this was. The point of this was for Braun Breaker to murder Sami Zayn and win the title. That was the point. Like, there's so many people...
Unfortunately, one of the jokes that we made in the last episode was that, my God, how many hometowns does Sami Zayn have?
Mm-hmm.
So he has Montreal, he has Saudi Arabia, he has Toronto,
But
He is Philadelphia.
he has Philadelphia.
my whole thing though was I'm really annoyed with people who are like, but they didn't do a bajillion moves. They didn't go for 20 minutes, and I'm just like, okay, first off, you need to stop watching AEW. It's rotting your brain. Not every match has to go 100 bajillion minutes on an episode of Dynamite.
People who work there's brains.
Yeah.
People go there to forget how to wrestle.
And the people that watched that knew how wrestling worked forget how wrestling works, and they just, flips! Oh, this match went 30 minutes. It must automatically be good. This was perfect. This was everything it needed to be. It did not need to go a second longer. It was what it needed to be. Sammy went for the Helluva Kick, got cut in half by Braun Breaker's spear, and then Braun hit him with an even bigger spear and pinned him at the 5-minute mark. That's all it needed to be.
Well, hold on. Can we go back for a second?
Sure.
Now, when the Money in the Bank match happens and Sammy initially won, I will fully admit I hated that finish because I thought Braun should have won, even though it was in Canada. Okay, Are we with me so far?
Yes.
We are with you so far.
And then they got to this match, and I'm like, oh, okay, I understand why they did it, and now it makes the Money in the Bank match victory okay for this particular reason. Sami Zayn's Intercontinental title run was just, I beat Gunther and nothing else besides Chad Gable and Bronson Reed, which isn't very impressive. WWE is very smart to make sure that they don't have Braun Breaker be undefeated on the main roster, because if he was undefeated, then he would lose his charm when he does lose. Now that he's had a loss already, but it was a fluky loss because it's Sami Zayn and because Sami Zayn does magic or bullshit or whatever, it just makes sense also to just give Sami Zayn the win against Braun Breaker, but have Braun get his match back, get his win back, and get the title, because he is the star and will have the title and will do more with the title than Sami Zayn. But it was to make sure that Sami Zayn's title reign was not a nothing reign, which it would have been if Braun had beaten him.
I'll tell you what I liked about it so much. At Money in the Bank, and even on Raw, like Braun would mention it during promos and in the hype package, which you can find if you're a Premium Plus subscriber. But he mentioned that during the match at Money in the Bank, he didn't take Sami seriously, and there was a part where he put his hands behind his back. In this match, he took it seriously and won in 5 minutes.
Yeah. I actually, that was one of my favorite parts where he was just like, yeah, I was being stupid.
Yeah.
That's on me. My bad. I underestimated him. I didn't take him seriously. Now we're going to change the game here. And the tone changed of the match. And kind of to your point about they didn't do a billion flips so the match wasn't as good. I will always, always, always take a good piece of business over a good match.
Honestly, same.
Case in point, Bobby Lashley versus Kofi Kingston.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Where Bobby Lashley just correct Kofi Kingston. But it was exactly what Bobby needed for that title reign to make it feel more important and make it emphasize that there's no fucking around with this dude. That was, I think, the best match of that. Was that a SummerSlam?
That was Money in the Bank, funnily enough.
It was Money in the Bank. I couldn't remember the exact date, the date that was. But that was so important for Bobby in the same way that this is equally as important for Braun Breaker.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Sky, Breaker couldn't lose twice. He had to win this match. There was no way around it. But because otherwise, Money in the Bank would have made no sense.
Mm-hmm.
To give it, and not to the discredit of Sammy, I personally, as I said on the YouTube short predictions, which you can take a look on the Court Martial podcast channel, said that Sammy is still, at this moment for me, a candidate. Maybe not the winner or frontrunner, but a candidate for Wrestler of the Year for getting the most out of potentially the least of pickings. And that's no knock on Chad Gable either. But seeing how that was all an Otis angle, and we will get to Otis in a minute.
Oh, God.
We'll get to that. But back when they were actually trying to do something serious with Chad Gable and Otis, Sammy was kind of caught in the mix of that and caught in a triple threat match that didn't have exactly the flavor, but Sammy was able to make it feel more important than it necessarily was. And that is a major credit to Sami Zayn. And it actually kind of validated, I think, to some degree, him being the guy to beat Gunther for that Intercontinental belt. And now that Sammy has proven to be not a nothing champion, like not a transitional champion, but maybe a kind of a long-form transitional champion. Mm-hmm. Between Gunther and the guy they really wanted it on, which is Braun Breaker, knowing what they have with him. And hell is frozen over because we saw Scott Steiner live on camera.
Indeed we did.
At a pay-per-view. Lipstick in my Valentino bag, Jeff.
You always pop me when you reference that.
But
that is an easy pop for me.
About Braun Breaker is the fact that he looks like a young Rex, he talks like Scott, and he just wrestles like Braun.
whenever he scares the shit out of me every time he does that top rope Rana where he just leans back and then catches him. Because there was one time on Raw where he mistimed it a little and nearly landed on the top of his head. And it looked ugly.
And it was against Sheamus, but that was the only time it's ever happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
every time he lands it perfectly, and when he doesn't, that's when you know he truly fucks up, like that night against Sheamus. But otherwise, he always does it.
Dude.
Yeah, and he's incredible, and kind of to your point, Sky, you could see elements of Rick and elements of Scott, but he's unique to himself, which is like the point. And now, I wish they would just let him use his name, and I know he doesn't want to because he want to make a name for himself, but nobody on earth has the last name Breaker with 2 Ks.
You don't know that. You don't know that for a fact.
I know that. Name me 15 people with the last name Breaker.
I will Google it real quick.
Yeah, honestly, all you have to do is just call him Braun the Breaker Steiner and just get it over with.
I would deal with Braun the Breaker, period.
Okay.
I would deal with that.
This is what Google just told me. The surname Breaker is an Americanized version of the German surname Brecher.
Oh my god, okay. You can't use Google for that shit.
Too late. Even worse, it was an AI-generated response.
Oh, well, I miss back in the day when you could just go to the safe sources like Wikipedia. Oh,
okay,
what a time. Back in my day, we had the sites that beautiful piece of knowledge.
But yeah, this does, again, give Braun Breaker the Intercontinental title. Hopefully he has a good run with it. And this also frees Sami Zayn up to do Bloodline stuff, potentially.
I'm so excited to see what they do with Braun Breaker's reign as champion. I just want to see him mowing down motherfuckers on Raw. That's what I want to see.
My only concern is that I don't want that championship to become a television defense championship. Like
the tag team titles?
Like, defend it on TV, but don't make it to the point where we don't see the Intercontinental Championship on a PLE until, like,
you stop that right
December.
Now.
You know? Like, I want to make, like, I don't want it that just because it's not on Sammy and it's on Braun, and because Triple H is known to kind of reduce the match count on the shows when they're not something like Survivor Series or something, or SummerSlam or WrestleMania or the Rumble. And even in the Rumble, he keeps them short because he's got those 2 big chonkers of matches.
Yeah.
You know he's going to be on Bad Blood in Atlanta, okay, man? Like, there's no problem.
I hope you're right.
I hope so as well.
He's from Atlanta, Georgia. He's going to be on that show.
He better.
Yeah, well, who knows? Who knows? I hope so. But it somehow Braun was more intense here. You could see the intensity difference by Braun this time around. And a lot of it was his facials, you know, just the demeanor that he had. And we saw this happen twice, and it just reminds me of, like, it's a small thing, but it's a great pop every time it happens. Pulling the straps down on the singlet works every single time.
Yep.
And, except unless you're Eddie Kingston.
Yeah.
Well, you have to kind of have a body first in order to make it impressive looking.
Yeah.
There's one exception to this rule.
Yeah, a beer gut doesn't go over really well or generate a pop.
That's not a beer gut. That's a whole keg gut.
You know what? You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Is that keg full of prime?
No, it's full of fat.
Fuck you for that transition.
Speaking of Scott Steiner, it's just fat.
Jesus.
And Scott was here, so I'm allowed to say it.
Yeah.
But anyway, then we get this big spear, and then another big spear, and that's it.
Yep.
And I was like, because Sammy went and tried a haluva kick, but he couldn't get it. And then these 2 shots, and that was it. And to the point where it actually kind of surprised me. I'm like, oh snap! Like that's really it. Like they actually did keep this short.
It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect.
It was exactly what it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right result, not too long, great finish. Pat McAfee schlub should not be in WWE 2K24. let me ask, who's going to play? And even Michael Cole and Corey Graves were like, who's going to play as Boston Connor or Ty Schmidt? No one. No one will.
If they would have referred to it as the Pat Pack, I would have at least considered it.
I like this point where Michael Cole was like, oh, and they're selling, and people have been asking for it, and Pat's like, oh, I don't know what you've been watching, but yeah, I don't know who wants to play. Even Pat was like, I don't know who wants to play as us. But
hey, they want to play as themselves and make themselves champions like proper marks.
That's a great reference.
That was, yeah.
And that's exactly what they did. And then a Wild Stephanie appeared, and she did not know, I don't think, that she was going to be on camera. I think Triple H is like, hey, get Stephanie on. She doesn't know, but get her on.
He absolutely would.
Yeah. He's like, just to rib his wife.
He absolutely would troll his own wife.
It's just Triple H we're talking about. He wanted to be like, no, put her on camera. And because she looked up and she's like, oh, hey.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi. I'm having fun. This is my having fun face.
Yeah, my guess is that was a great little rib from Triple H.
And he was fucking dying in the production truck. Or in Gorilla, wherever he was.
Well, anyways, can we move on to the next match?
That's one.
Between Stone Cold Rock and Logan Paul for the United States Championship, and also I heard that, Josh, again, I counted it too. Ask us about that later, folks.
We had a little bet.
But it is LA Knight versus Logan Paul.
Now, before we begin talking about this match, can I do a disclaimer real quickly?
Indeed.
Go for it.
So, I want to be very clear about the three of us and certain feelings that we're going to have about this particular match, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Go on.
Logan Paul is an absolutely terrible human being. With the stuff from the Suicide Force in Japan, to his millions of dollars scams, to the transphobic comments that happened with the Olympic stuff a couple days ago. I want to be very clear right now. When myself, Joshua, and Sean are praising this man, we are only praising him for the content of wrestling. We're not praising anything else. Capiche?
Yeah, he has a lot of subscribers on YouTube, and I'm not one of them. Like, outside of the confines of WWE, I'm like, yeah, I don't see what the deal is, but WWE wrestling only.
That he's an absolutely terrible human being, and that's very clear. That's what makes him a great wrestling heel.
Yeah.
He definitely fits the carny motherfucker that kind of started professional wrestling. You know, it's like he's definitely part of that ilk. You know, he sued the guy who did a YouTube expose on him.
Sounds about right.
So, yeah, Logan Paul, known scumbag, terrific heel on that basis.
Yeah.
And
also
known potato lover.
Yeah. Also, this was my favorite match on the entire show. I loved this match from start to finish. I thought it was great. And I didn't think I was going to because I wasn't sure how LA Knight's style and Logan Paul's style would mesh. But I was thoroughly entertained throughout this entire match.
To be honest, there's not a lot of bad picks for match of the night. And if this is your match of the night, I don't blame you because this was really, really good. Did it go into the overbooked territory? Of course it does because it's Logan Paul.
It's WWE.
But my God, is it fun.
Yes.
It wouldn't be the most overbooked thing on the night, would it?
Or the second most overbooked.
Really no, it did try.
Maybe the third most overbooked thing on the show.
Oh man, I love the Triple H era of wrestling, man.
It's fun. It's so much fun.
It's fun. And it's fun to bust balls rather than to just be, like, aggravated.
Yes.
It's a different kind of criticism. It's just more fun. And speaking of criticism, Logan Paul comes out in his hometown of Cleveland wearing Browns gear, and this crowd boos the shit out of him. That is rare. That is a gift, man. He's got it. He's got the superstar. He's got it. He's got the it factor, which sucks considering who he is as a person. But for the wrestling fan, it's great.
Wrestling, the one sport where being an asshole is a really good thing.
Being a slime ball actually helps the thing along, yeah. And he comes out with Machine Gun Kelly.
Oh my god.
Because Machine Gun Kelly is from the area.
I audibly groaned.
It's just Machine Gun Kelly comes out, and I was like, so is like Eminem gonna make a run in, or is Snoop Dogg gonna make a run in? And if Snoop came out and attacked Machine Gun Kelly because LA Knight and Snoop are from LA, I would have been for that.
This would have gotten an 11 out of 10.
Snoop Dogg is currently in Paris helping the Olympics out, so he wasn't available.
What's he doing to help?
He's promoting stuff over there.
Yeah, like weed.
He's on camera a lot, but what's he doing to help the Olympics? He going over there and coaching the fucking runners? Okay, now.
He's over there to see what kind of weed France has.
And stuff like that.
Oh, that's funny.
He's over there for that French weed.
But if he, I bet. Yeah, I bet. Corey says, oh, they should be pumping Prime into everywhere in Cleveland. I'm like, Corey, trust me, if you looked at that ingredient list, you don't want that in the water supply. You don't want that in the water supply. And LA Knight, Stone Cold, LA Knight came out in the Prime truck. And this was the first time I really was like, man, he really is just a mix, especially with the hype packages. Mm-hmm. He really is a mix of Stone Cold and The Rock. He is like, he's the fusion baby of those two individuals. And I'm not saying that as a criticism. It works. Mm-hmm. And he's great at it.
Dude, he's done basically nothing except beat AJ Styles at WrestleMania all year, and we're like past the halfway point of the year, and he's still over like crazy.
People love this dude. There's a reason he's called the megastar, and it really was because he got stupid over in spite of everything going on. Mm-hmm. But I have to ask, what was with that giant PVC pipe? Just get a baseball bat. If you're going to bash somebody's windows out, do you see how awkward he was trying to bash that window in? It's like, just get a bat, dude.
Yeah.
You drove.
Unfortunately, the bat is trademarked. Unfortunately, the bat is trademarked by Sting.
Then get black bats are trademarked by get like a yellow or a brown or a blue or a red colored baseball bat.
Just get anything. Just get a baseball bat. I don't know.
Get a brick.
You know what it probably was? It was probably the remnants of that big flower pot staff that Apollo Crews used to use when he walked to the ring.
Oh my god.
There's a deep cut for you kids.
Oh.
I shouldn't say that, otherwise we're going to get a Nigerian drum match.
Oh, yeah. Stop. For the love of God.
Anyways, to get us kind of back on track, this match starts hot because Logan Paul can't wait for the bell to ring. He attacks LA Knight. LA Knight grabs him, and they start fighting around the ringside area to get a little bit extra more time because their match wasn't super, super long bell to bell. But the before-match shenanigans helped.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I will have to say this, the rule of if you hit each other outside the ring, it doesn't count. It's kind of tired for me, but I'll allow it in this context. It's fine. It's like this wasn't an overbooked pre-match fight, which does happen sometimes where they just go crazy for 6 minutes and then they get in and then the bell rings and they fight all over the arena. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But there's a point right before this where Corey and Cole are talking about smashing the window and Pat's just like, the Hummer is a terrific vehicle. Yeah. I was like, Pat, what? Okay, how much did they pay you to say that? Anyway.
You could tell that was not his most enthusiastic endorsement he's had to do.
No. And then we get Corey Cam as LA Knight is slamming Logan Paul's mostly hands onto the table.
Yeah, they could have cut to a different angle during that.
Yeah.
It was a little. I was like, okay.
Especially the last 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Maybe this wasn't the time for Corey Cam.
Although I will say, this Argentine neckbreaker on the table, I bet that sucked for both of them.
Yeah, me too.
Like, that table did not budge.
Yeah, well, the as I called it, as I wrote it down, that fireman's rotating neckbreaker, which is an oldie but a goldie. I haven't seen that move in a hot minute. And I'm sure LA Knight uses it frequently, and I just don't see it because, I don't watch the television.
He's used it, I think he used it on AJ at WrestleMania, I could be wrong, and I've seen him use it on SmackDown, like, once.
And then we got our third shoulder to the turnbuckle, and we all popped.
Well, the other thing is that, let me put this down to explain exactly what happened in the notes. Skyler text, 3 shoulder into the post spots. Sean, fuck it, let's make it all 7. Joshua, loud fuck you Logan Paul chants. Sean, Solo has to take a shoulder spot. Drew has to do it. Nia has to do it. Priest has to do it. I'm like, yes, all of us. 7 shoulders into the post.
Make it happen. Make it happen.
Please.
And they almost did. I blame Drew McIntyre. He may have won.
No. No, I think he was the one that did it in his match with Punk. Anyways, the point is that Logan Paul, he grabs LA Knight, he throws him into the post, not once, but twice.
He was really trying to make us happy over here.
Also, it was at this point that when the camera started doing that thing where, like, they go up, there were some camera angles that they were doing in this match in particular that I started noticing some weird camera tricks. First thing I noticed, the Straight Talk and the Wingstop ads in the middle of the ring along with the Prime logo.
Mm-hmm.
Now we truly know him well that Vince McMahon is dead because he would never allow 5 ads on the ring canvas.
Yeah. It's, hey, we podcast 10 hours. All we want is Wingstop. And
Sean, can you not for 5 seconds? That was a deep cut.
No, I can't.
But the other thing I noticed too is that they started shooting the match from the outside with the camera on the outside and not on the apron, or they did like the strobe camera or the stationary camera above. They're using different camera stuff, which is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've been doing that since WrestleMania, really, and every time they're trying all of these new things, and nothing is the same. Mm-hmm. No show looks the same. Where every Kevin Dunn show looked the same, and it was more like, how much bullshit is he going to put on and make mistakes in? This is like, they're just trying new things. So not only does every show feel different because of the wrestlers, every show feels different because the production is making it look different.
Mm-hmm.
That is so refreshing.
It really is. It really is. And you know what else is refreshing and just puts a smile on my face? Logan Paul has the best gut wrench suplex ever. Just the way he lifts him up, but more importantly, the way he because in a lot of suplexes they just both drop. He follows through and kind of lands on top of them a little bit, and then doesn't lose contact with them when he goes for the cover on it, and it just looks. And it's in one fluid motion. It's gorgeous.
Well. It was really, this whole match was pretty snug between the both of them, too.
And there were some really cool moves, again, that suplex, the side effects, Logan Paul's jump from the top rope.
Yep. And we had,
and also the fans, after that jump, even though it was impressive, they said, you still suck.
Dude.
You still suck.
That's how you know that, you did something cool even if everyone hates you.
Logan Paul.
Well, no, that's how you know that people hate you. You do something cool that normally pops marks, and they still hate you for it.
Dude, that twisting into the moonsault, he got ridiculous height on that. That was so insane. And even the LA Knight kind of rolled towards him after, was like, "You okay, dude?" "Yeah, I'm good." It's like, okay, I'm gonna go back to selling now.
Well, we've actually kind of flipped our way past something that I wanted to note, which is right before they started doing the side effect and the flip through overbomb, which was ridiculous, and all of that, all of that they were really getting into. They did the spot where they start scrapping on their knees, but they started getting up into the 1-2 and laying in these punches. And when I say laying in these punches, all of a sudden Logan Paul got himself a mouthful of French fries.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
you saw it on his cheek. His cheek was bruised and bloody. He caught a live one.
Oh yeah, he did.
And
He started getting a black eye around his right eye.
Yeah, and yeah, he got a good one there, a good potato, and that was but then, and then the side effect and the springboard moonsault, which was crazy, the KO punch that didn't work, and as soon as he did the knockout punch that didn't work, I looked at Logan Paul's hands and I said, you shouldn't have taped them up that heavy. If you want your punch to work, don't wrap up your weapon.
Yeah.
But
and then also, okay, LA Knight does this running to the top superplex thing.
oh my god.
This made me nearly shat myself. I actually screeched. I went, oh god!
Yeah, I think everyone in Cleveland did. I did. Skyler did. You did. It was like, oh!
That and even the commentary was like, that was almost like a brain buster, and I was like, no, that was a brain buster.
Yeah.
Almost nearly
man.
crippled this man.
Yeah.
And then, like, it's just beautiful, the impact and the bounce that Logan Paul's body took.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if beautiful was the word, but, I've gleaned from Mr. Cornette in wrestling that any time that you get a boom, poof, instead of just a flat, that's pain. So I'm sure that hurt.
I mean, my anus clenched so hard watching that. Taking that, I can only imagine.
Yeah. I would bet you, and Triple H said in the press conference that Logan Paul was pretty banged up. I bet you that was part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that drop kick that he took from LA Knight in the outside after this was not clunky either.
No, they were laying it in.
Mm-hmm.
They were both laying it in. LA Knight didn't come out scot-free either. I mean, he didn't get busted open or anything, but Logan Paul's shots are always laid in. He's always very good at that. And
yep. And also, now is the part where they go into the finish.
Mm-hmm. Right. And now to the angle part of the match.
Yeah.
As this will not be the last time you hear me say this on this night.
Or the second to last, or the third to last.
Nope. And so Logan Paul gets an eye rake. And then we get LA Knight goes over and the schlubs are talking to LA Knight. He pulls him in and does his thing, and Machine Gun Kelly and Logan Paul gets on top of him. And I'm kind of glossing here, so feel free to stop me and add details as much as you'd like. And Machine Gun Kelly pulls off a necklace that has the not quite brass knucks on it.
The silver knucks.
It's brass knucks.
It was knucks.
If it was a few shades lighter, it would have been a nice pair of white knucks. Isn't that right, Sean?
That was like the thank you, I guess. That's like when you buy the bronze belt on WWE video games, and that's your metal material, and you use bronze. That was kind of what it looked like.
It's like the old tag team titles when they say they're going for the gold, and the belts are silver.
And they look like pennies. Anyway.
Them's quarters!
Yeah. Well, then they changed to fun-colored belt quarters.
With Velcro.
Yeah, they did. Wow, what a bar they set. R.I.P. to both of them. But then he gets he goes for the knucks, and I love the way that they set this up with the punch, where LA Knight goes to back suplex him, Logan Paul into the ring. Logan hits the brass nut. I call it the brass. Laws. We already well established, as I said not 2 minutes ago, that they were not in fact brass, and then I still called them brass.
It's okay, Sean. Steel knucks.
The knucks to the face, and then the buckshot lariat that was countered into a BFT. That was it.
Yep.
What a finish.
Yep.
Loved it.
And if in case they want to go back to this or they want to give Logan an out, if you saw it, his foot was under the bottom rope. So they have
Which I didn't notice. You're the only one who saw that. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Until they replayed it. I'm like, oh, you're right. And so they've got room to keep this going, which I don't know about you, Sky, but I'm all for more matches between these two.
Oh, yeah.
I'm good with it because this was fun, this was emotional, and this was entertaining.
And we were all very worried that Logan Paul was going to win. Not that we, like, at the wrestler, not the person. We really just were like, okay, they have to give something to LA Knight. Or if he loses this match, it would have done, like, if Braun lost the match to Sami, that would have done some damage. It would have done even more damage to LA Knight if he lost this matchup.
No, LA Knight's done.
Yeah.
If he doesn't win this match, he's done. Because why should people believe in him because he doesn't win anything?
Exactly.
It's like what happened with Bray Wyatt initially when he got stupid over with the Wyatt gimmick, and then he lost every feud that he was ever in forever.
Yeah. The
Granted,
eater of
LA
pins.
Knight is at the peak of his popularity because it's been a little bit too late.
Mm-hmm.
But at least they did give him something.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? There's still room now. I mean, eventually, we're going to talk about Gunther winning, but, let's say a year down the line, who's going to take that belt from Gunther? Who's going to be that big enough to,
But again, think about this for a second, okay? The idea that the United States Championship and the Intercontinental Championship are actually accomplishments worthy of pursuing. We weren't talking about these mid-card titles like they were something important 5 years ago. It's the work that they've done to rehab both belts, specifically the Intercontinental title with Gunther, but the work they've also done with the U.S. title to make it feel important.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it matters. And that's why we have to have these titles.
And I would also, to kind of layer onto that, Sky, I would say that truly began, and it had its ebbs and flows, definitely, from start to finish, but with the United States title, I really do feel like that began with Bobby Lashley.
Mm-hmm.
Because Bobby was one, and he's not on this show, but I'm giving him credit again. He took that belt, and it was kind of the foundation of what became the Hurt Business, which for its time was one of the best things WWE had going for them. One of the most important things that they had through the pandemic years. And Bobby and that United States Championship, that was crucial to that. Even when Austin Theory had it, it meant something because, people like John Cena were competing, that was at a time when Austin Theory meant the most, and it has ebbed and flowed. Logan Paul has brought a ton to it. And now LA Knight is going to be able to carry that with really a level of gravitas that we haven't seen it have maybe ever.
At least since the days when John Cena and the mid-2000s SmackDown, like MVP or Chris Benoit had it.
Yeah, that was like when it was founded. When they made it. That's kind of my point. Like, when has this title felt as prestigious? Because even then, it was like, okay, this is just SmackDown's mid-card belt. Fine, because you got...
Yeah, but when guys like Eddie Guerrero or Booker T or John Cena were fighting over that title, it did have good matches associated with it.
It did. I'm not denying that. And it meant something then, even though it got on television most times, and it got on pay-per-views most times. But even though it's not defended on every show, because, that's just the way it is, right now seems like the best time where you could actually call the United States Championship an accolade. And
I would agree with that.
Hero into the equation.
I would agree with that. Honestly, the last time I really felt like the U.S. title was important at all was, like, besides the whole thing with Bobby Lashley, before that, the only thing that, like, even comes to mind was that brief but really good feud between The Miz and Daniel Bryan in 2010 over it. They actually got some prestige because they had a good story going between them, and then Daniel Bryan was just defending against random people. He had a really good match against Ted DiBiase at Survivor Series, but then it kind of went back to just being, oh yeah, that's that red and blue championship that they have sometimes. But yeah,
That's the thing that's going to have to be important, that Triple H has gotten the U.S. title and LA Knight over, but they have to make the feuds that LA Knight has from now on worth it to make sure that people still see it as a prestigious title.
They got to maintain that momentum.
And you know what? I trust them.
Me too.
I trust them to do it, which is amazing.
So I can slap into a Slim Jim. Hell yeah!
I'm still... Okay, well, speaking of commercials...
Oh, Christ.
Oh, yes, a Slim Jim ad with Bianca Belair and LA Knight, which has been going on since LA Knight won that Battle Royale.
Which is great. I'm glad that he's the perfect guy to have that endorsement, by the way. And honestly, that was a nice way to get Bianca Belair some airtime, at least through some syndicated paychecks. But this.
Sean, I'm going to give you the floor because you deserve to talk about this the most.
Okay. I'm bald, right?
Indeed you are.
So this starts with a bald guy shaving the head of another bald guy. And Baron Corbin has got a razor on Apollo Crews, and they're talking about Manscaped and what's going on with them and all the trimmers and stuff like that. And then for some reason, Otis and Maxine Dupree and Akira Tozawa, the famed author of the Dragon Ball Z comics.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Go fuck yourself. That man passed away. You heartless bastard.
Too soon?
Little bit. If I got the Dragon Balls and brought that man back to life, the first thing he would say would be "fuck you, Sean" in Japanese.
Oh,
Akira Tozawa is shorter than Akira Toriyama. Thank you. They don't even have the same hair color.
Oh my god.
Especially not now.
Oh, so
Christ.
Otis and Maxine Dupree.
I don't think I've ever heard you with a bigger smile on your face. I don't think I've ever heard you happier.
Oh man, that must be what a father feels like when he lobs up a baseball and the kid hits a home run for the first time.
Yeah, except it's you laughing at your own joke.
Yeah. Oh, that's too good. That's like that meme of the lion licking his own balls. Anyway.
A bald lion, yes.
Speaking of, because that's the whole point of the ad here, is Otis shows up and he goes, "Oh yeah, I love using Manscaped on all sorts of things." And he lifts up his belly and he's got the razor and he's there, they're talking about all the attachments, and he's just like, he's rubbing his belly, and he's just, and he starts shaving his stomach, and Akira Tozawa's looking like he's watching the moon launch. And Maxine Dupree is, like, confused and turned on. And the camera pans as you still hear Otis going, "Oh, yeah, I love it in all places." And Baron Corbin looks at Apollo Crews and says the line of his career. "This is our cue to go."
Yeah. It was the way he said it. He said it kind of like away from the mic, like, "Dude, I think this is our
cue to go."
Yeah, we should probably leave. Fuck, this is too weird. This is getting a little weird for me.
And then pan back over to Otis, and he's just like coming his pants with this Manscaped thing. And his partners are looking at him and enjoying it. And then they try to cut back to it, like, now we're going to do a women's title match.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Manscaped, and I'm, like, on the floor. I'm done. This, to me, is what that segment with JR is to JoshAgeddon from Backlash 2009.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This is one of the all-time what in the fuck are they doing, but I don't know. The concept that they started with two bald men to promote shaving material. It's too good.
Otis is like, but I'm a clean-shaven man.
Allow you with Manscaped.
Even though he's the most, like, wild man, I don't shave ever looking dude.
Either way, you're welcome, Manscaped, for the free ad.
Yeah.
Oh my god, man.
Give us money. Give us money.
That was something else, man. Oh my god.
I was. It's been a while since I was that confused and a little turned on watching a wrestling show, but here we are.
That was a classic, an all-time classic backstage segment, and Man, I'm going to go back and watch that probably after this show because it was so fun. It was so, like, what the fuck that it was so entertaining. And
it's kind of like what they try to go for with R-Truth's shtick that is so tired and overplayed.
Yeah.
Or whenever they try to do goofy cornball humor. Except now that, a nearly 80-year-old man isn't, booking these segments, it actually works.
Take notes, Vince. This is how you get shaving over, not getting the revival to shave each other's backs in embarrassment.
This is how you do comedy. Not just, poo-poo fart jokes are funny. He peed.
Yeah.
Ha ha.
And honestly, for a Manscaped ad, they kept it kind of classy, all things considered. But I will never forget Baron Corbin going, "This is our cue to go."
Just
and
deadpan.
eventually in the Titus O'Neil looking back in horror at the Bray Wyatt John Cena match from Mania, what the fuck am I doing with my life kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was the best. Yeah, and you know what? This might be the only thing of import that Baron Corbin does all year is this one segment, but I am so glad he was here for this segment.
Yeah, that was great. That was great.
He was all of us in that moment.
Yeah,
But-
in order to make comedy work, you have to relate to the audience.
Yeah. And boy, did they. And the
Yes.
look that he and Apollo Crews had of just confusion and disgust. that
Yes.
they did, like, credit to both of them for looking the exact way all of us were looking as this was just going down. But it's time now to reach the halfway point. Women. Bayley versus Nia Jax for the WWE Women's Championship. What did you think about this match, Skyler?
I will say that at this point in the show, I think this was the weakest match of the entire show. And it's not because I thought it was a badly wrestled match. I just thought this was the most predictable.
JoshAgeddon?
I agree. This, in my opinion, was also the weakest. It wasn't bad, and it had its moments, especially towards like the later half of the match. But I feel like the crowd after the previous three matches, the crowd was kind of tired, and also it's not any surprise to me that the match that has the combination of the worst music got the most tepid reaction. Because honestly, I'm starting to think that the music that Def Rebel shits out is kind of it contributes to turning off the audience.
Counterproductive.
Because
I agree entirely.
It makes the characters and the personalities more flaccid.
That initial pop is more important than people think it is.
Yeah. But
And
again,
especially now.
this was not bad. It just took a while for it to get going.
Yeah.
I know there was somebody that was complaining, and you can tell which fan base they root for, saying that, like, why does WWE have so much time in between matches from bell to bell? Why can't they just get more matches in the time that they had? And, again, you can tell which fan base this person roots for. The thing about it is that if they had squeezed more matches into this, the crowd would have been even worse.
Yeah.
The 10 to 15 minutes they had between matches on average was important because it allowed the crowd to rest and recover, use the bathroom, get food, talk with people, do what they need to do. If there was match after match after match after match like AEW, then people would not have had energy. So fuck you, fan who thinks that there need to be more matches and less time between matches. You don't know shit.
Agreed.
He says less time between matches, but if they had more matches on this card, it would go until 2:30 in the morning.
I'm so glad I didn't watch Double or Nothing. There were 15 matches on that show. Christ almighty.
I chose nothing as well.
I watched one match, and that was enough.
Now, that wasn't one of the options, JoshAgeddon. It was double or nothing. You can't just have one. You are not a ladies' chip.
I don't gamble, so I just picked my one thing, and I was like, that's it for the night. I'm good.
Well, Skyler, you mentioned something here that I was going to mention as well is that this was the point. The second they saw it was Bayley and Nia Jax, that half of Cleveland went, I gotta pee.
Basically.
And they all got up and went to pee and buy $14 beers and get some nachos with fake cheese and do all of the great things that Cleveland does. So for the first 2/3 of this match, most of the people either didn't care or were not there. As I was seeing, basically until the Samoan drop on the outside, which is way later in this match, but basically I was seeing people come back to their front row seats 2/3 of the way into this matchup.
Yeah.
So this was the break, was right here in the middle, and these ladies, unfortunately, were the break match, but to their credit, got the people back into it anyway.
Yeah. And also, I think another thing that kind of hurt it is, let's be real, during this reign, the peak of it was when Bayley won at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And she's done she's barely on SmackDown.
She's done dick all of shit.
Yeah, basically.
Not to be a name dropper, but
she has done hardly anything. Like, as soon as the damage control thing was done and the draft happened, she's just been the epitome of the phrase, oh, she's just kind of there.
He's there.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to think that somehow Io Sky's reign felt more important.
Yeah.
And that's no knock on Io Sky at all. It's more kind of a knock about how the reign of Bayley's was treated. But I do have to say,
and it's not necessarily Bayley's fault because, again, they didn't get anything for her to work with. They just gave her a Piper Niven defense, and it was not enough.
That's all on booking. That's on Triple H, not anybody else.
This is where we can point the finger back at the dumb idea that is the brand split and the fact that they simply do not have enough women on both shows to make the title picture interesting.
You missed an adjective. Quality women to have 2 titles on both shows. They have women.
Yeah.
We know they have women. And do you really want Shotzi back? Moving right along. I have to say, I did find it a little. I
would rather get underneath Otis while he's manscaping himself than watch another Shotzi match.
Well, actually, I'm pretty sure it's Otis's droppings that Shotzi uses to make her hair all spiky like that. Anyway, it's not to cast aspersions onto Otis's personal life, but, you know.
I like how you're okay. I like how you're not okay with casting aspersions on Otis's life, but you are okay with casting aspersions on Shotzi's life.
Hey, I'm just a guy doing a podcast. But as I'm starting to say, I did find it a little bit funny that when they were doing the pipe vignette, when they were doing the split screen, and Bayley said, "You're reckless and you're clumsy," and when Bayley said you're clumsy, they showed the video of Nia doing the my hole.
Yep, they sure did.
And that was a great clip. I mean, you know what? For those of you who weren't paying attention, that was a really subtle move they did, but I appreciate them doing little. Their production team is always on point with things like that.
Yep.
And speaking of, Skyler, you were talking about All Elite Wrestling and their wonderful sports-based presentation. Unlike the National Wrestling League and its actual sports-based presentation, did you notice the stat that they used for Nia Jax, which I thought was maybe the best way to use statistics in professional wrestling, when they said Nia Jax is 5-4 all time against Bayley in the WWE. So they went through their records and they figured out how many times they've touched and who's come out on top and who's not, and here's this, that's the kind of thing you can use. And they did it with Punk. He's 4-4 at SummerSlam or whatever it was. that's the kind of sports base that actually helps add context.
Well, every single time that a wrestler was making their entrance, they had a graphic next to them displaying stats and records and also heights and weight. Again, giving more context to a fighter as they make their way to the ring like a UFC event.
So if Matt Hardy actually comes back, he can bring version 1 back.
Wow.
Oh my god, although it's more like version 50 because that's his age.
Again, the Hardys were in Cleveland talking to WWE, but nothing has come out of it.
Yes, sir. And sadly, they would actually help the tag division. Sadly.
Motor City Machine Guns, why did you sign with the opposition? Why?
And they've been seen exactly 0 times on AEW program.
Yeah, dude, they've been seen
DNA.
Dude, the Motor City Machine Guns have been on NXT more than they've been in AEW. Because they wrestled exactly 1 time in NXT.
Well, the first thing I loved about them, because they did, speaking of NXT, was mentioning the match that I loved between Bayley and Nia at TakeOver London, which they referenced a few times in this matchup, which I really appreciated. And it's, for the context of what these ladies were doing and their history with each other, they told a good story here, even though the crowd wasn't really into it until about like 2/3 of the way in. And, Nia, I think, spanked Bayley at one point.
Ooh la la.
And, but you know what? Fitting had already given us the cake of Rhea Ripley, so I wasn't going to ask for more. And I did follow Skyler. I know that it must hit home having have San Francisco and San Jose at odds with each other here on such a big stage like Cleveland, Ohio. Did you feel the hometown love halfway across the country?
No.
For me, it would have been like if someone from Kershaw wrestled someone from Lancaster. It would be one white person with all of their teeth versus maybe a white person with 0 teeth.
Listen, I know that Bayley's from San Jose, and I'm happy she's from San Jose. I've never seen Nia Jax in San Francisco, nor do I plan to.
It'd be hard to miss her.
Yeah, I imagine, if the San Andreas fault wasn't, right there, you'd probably feel the floor shake a little bit.
We are such assholes.
So it just
We are horrible people.
But only when Chris Jericho is around.
Yeah.
Because he's so fat.
Yeah, that's the only time. That's when the earthquake would actually be lesser than the person around, would be when Chris Jericho shows up. But he's a tree now, so he doesn't move around at all.
Well, speaking of not moving around, Nia Jax doesn't move around because she's big and fat.
Christ.
Again, Scott Steiner was in attendance, so it's a lot.
So he gave us the fat word pass.
He gave us the pass.
Hold on, if you hear me.
But they did the suplex guillotine throwback, and they referenced it, which I loved.
Yep, me too.
And Nia then just took her and shot her off, and then did the real jelly roll of the night. And she did that rolling senton. As that's what I wrote in my notes. Nia with the shoot jelly roll. As that is what in fact happened. And then Nia Jax goes around Mount Everest to get to the top rope.
And then goes down to the middle rope.
And then goes down to the second rope. As Corey even mentioned, well, she went the longest way possible to get to just the second rope. She took the scenic route. Yeah.
And then missed.
And I love that the commentators aren't afraid to bust balls either.
Yeah.
That really helps. It really helps the product be more digestible. Is they're catching stuff we're catching. Mm-hmm. And without burying the wrestlers. But they do, and then Nia Jax with a Uragi. As the and Samoa Joe does it better. I mean, that's not really a bold take at all.
Wow.
That's very vanilla.
That's heretical. What a heretical statement you've made, Sean, on this day.
Yes.
Was this your bold statement that you were teasing that was going to come up on this show?
No, that's the main event. That's the main event.
Okay.
We're getting to that. And then Nia hits the annihilate. Excuse me. Which is probably coughing like that is probably what Bayley did, as she got her lungs squashed.
Not as badly as Lyra did that one time.
No, this was better. This was better. The second of the three that she got was pretty bad.
Yeah.
But this one was...
I don't know, the first one looked pretty gentle. It just looks like, I'm just going to lightly sit on you. Not what she did when she said, fuck you, bird bitch, to lie about Kyria a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still don't know how Lyra is alive, after that one.
Well, we haven't seen her since, so.
Well, you don't watch Raw, so.
You don't watch the show. See, I'm a part of it.
Sean,
I don't watch the show either.
Don't you even try, okay?
I can help, but I like helping shame people. And, anyway.
Well, if you are actually good at it, then Nia Jax would lose a couple pounds.
She looked like she did slim down a little bit. Christ.
We all woke up ready to kill.
We did.
Yeah, this is the most savage edition of the Court Martial podcast. And but then we get 4 for 4 on the post and we all pop.
Yep. Yep.
Now again, at this point we're popping because yes, they're listening to us as the show is happening.
As the show is happening. They have a live wiretap. But it's so funny at this point, all three of us texted each other in all caps at the same time.
Yep.
Like, we all just went, yes! We don't pop for wrestlers like that. But an inside joke to pop ourselves, that will always get it.
Indeed, because we're fucking marks, too.
That's right. That's right. Damn right we are.
Mm.
As Prince Puma said once, damn right we do. And
then the best part of them, they do, it's kind of like the new Triple H stare spot. It's go run into the post.
Yeah. And I love it. But then speaking of things on the outside, we get that Samoan drop on the outside that looked pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And then they got the people into this because Nia is going to go to the top rope and Bayley cuts her off. And then Bayley does the walk halfway across the ring for the power bomb, and that got the crowd back into it.
Nothing to get a crowd into a match than by almost paralyzing yourself.
That's wrestling.
Bayley lifting the equivalent of Chris Jericho across the ring.
One half of Chris Jericho, Nia Jax.
Bayley never skipped leg and or spine day at the gym.
Yeah. I'm being told, I'm pretty sure Tony Khan is working with the International Measurement Committee to get one Jericho actually as a unit of metric weight.
And also, breaking news...
doing more lifting than the Cleveland Browns defense.
Bayley is now a few inches shorter.
Oh, man. We're great, aren't we?
We're so...
At this point, Bayley goes up to the top rope, hits the elbow drop. It does nothing to Nia. And then Tiffany Stratton, with her new pink Money in the Bank briefcase, comes out. Mm-hmm. And Sean groans.
I didn't actually. Because this was different.
Mm-hmm.
This was unique. The thing that bothers me about Money in the Bank is that it was the same shit all the time, over and over again, the same matches, but the same outcomes like 95% of the time. To my knowledge, I don't think they have ever used the Money in the Bank as an angle like this. And I do appreciate it. If they're doing different things, I'm willing to let it ride. But they've got to make an attempt to do different things. I really liked this finish.
Me too.
As Tiffany Stratton comes out, and, you think that she's here to, cash in as a triple threat, but that's not the purpose of this. As she kind of just walks around with the briefcase a little bit and then hits Bayley with it.
Well, that's the thing. She goes to the apron, tells the referee to put it on, and then, unfortunately, It just didn't work because Bayley saw it, and then Bayley got absolutely destroyed.
Jesus. These power bombs.
Yeah.
Christ.
To me, it was the second to last Annihilator that got me. It was the squash before the squash, the one that she got back up at pretty fast. That one was a gut splitter. But they did it, and the cover 1, 2, 3, and Nia Jax wins. But I love the idea of just using the cash-in as a distraction to get somebody that you're friends with the belt.
Yes, that is new.
That's something they've never done before, and now they can ride with those two until Tiffy finally feels like she's at the point where she can get Nia vulnerable, and now they have miles to go with that. And I really liked this. And Bayley took 3 squash finishers. She took 1 billion power bombs. She got 6 Samoan drops. She's about as strong as she could possibly look in losing to Nia Jax like this. And the crowd got into it at the end. Well done, ladies. I enjoyed this.
It took a little while to get going, but once it got going, it was good.
And hopefully it will lead to more interesting stuff as it goes forward.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think it will. They've something that the Triple H administration has done very well is give them finishes that have so many options, long-term options down the road. Every finish has a purpose, but the purpose could be 4 or 5 different things that they could milk for 6 months. It's brilliant. It's just brilliant. They're doing such an incredible job. And the best part is, we get the weather report from Michael Cole.
Doppler Cole's back in the game. Can you please have him versus this stupid tropical storm that apparently got upgraded to hurricane status? Can we have him be the weatherman?
Well, I don't know. He'd be more like Hurricane Tortilla, I think. But
Sean, my God, you are on another level tonight.
I think it's time for a track change. Hold on, uno momento.
I think that you need to relax just a tad with these meme references and all of this shit.
I'll relax.
Oh, please. You'd be making the same meme references, too, if you knew them.
Okay, I would not have just desecrated the grave of Akira Toriyama like he did earlier. Okay?
I mean, to be honest, I was thinking about it, but I
Dude,
didn't have the balls to do it.
Necrophilia is not as bad as what Sean did earlier. Dude,
okay.
what he did, it reminds me of what Deadpool did to Wolverine at the beginning of the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Spoilers.
Well, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't tell you.
Spoilers.
That one's just for you, tappers.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
Yeah, and the ones post-tapping that are after the tap that are post-tappers.
All right, it is Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk. And as JR would say if he wasn't so dead somewhere else, business has picked up.
Now, earlier I said that LA Knight and Logan Paul was my favorite match. This was my... Okay. Match-wise, LA Knight and Logan Paul was my favorite. Story-wise, this was my favorite thing on the whole show.
Same. This is the one that did it for me.
Yep.
Because this is the one that was easily the best hyped. This was the best anticipated. It had the best participants involved, and it had the best outcome.
Mm-hmm.
It was tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
It was absolutely tremendous. I loved everything about this match. But Skyler, you have an ongoing segment when it comes to this particular referee. So I'm going to let you have the floor for this one.
All right.
Right, as we all always agree, on this edition of What the Fuck is Seth Rollins Wearing? Looking like he skinned the cat from Alice in Wonderland and made a coat out of it.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And I love
Seth Rollins looks like he went over to a checkerboard and decided, you know what, I'm going to wear that on my shoulders today.
Very good, very good.
Just went into Elton John's closet and grabbed his jock strap and decided to wear those on his shoulders.
Oh my god.
Well, that's a visual.
That is certainly a visual.
That is certainly a visual. Well, and I think Michael Cole was with you on that one because within seconds after Sam Irvin announced Seth Rollins, he goes, "Is Seth the referee or Beetlejuice?"
Even CM Punk had a good crack at Seth's outfit later on in the match.
Even Cole's in on it. I'm like, you know what? This is how you know that they're listening. It's not just me, and it's not just JoshAgeddon. Even Michael Cole bashing this edition of What the Fuck is Seth Rollins Wearing? It is becoming more a meme throughout the commentary.
Yes, and it is great.
It's the best.
I just can't wait until Becky Lynch is back, because then we can get both versions of what the fuck is Becky Lynch wearing.
I know. That whole family. I feel bad for that daughter.
That
She's
daughter.
Gonna be wearing, her Halloween costumes are going to be just like a regular suit and tie, and her day-to-day wear is going to be Halloween wear all the time. And
her school, every time she walks in, it's now time for what the fuck is she wearing?
As they hear.
Yeah. And it's going to be an Irish version of that. It's going to be an Irish version of that. An Irish Waluigi laugh.
Although, I must say, Drew McIntyre's appearance, making him look like a commander in Cobra Kai.
Well, yeah, everything.
I'm sorry, Cobra Commander. Fuck, I thought that's got G.I. Joe reference.
It's Cobra Kai Mander. There you go, TWTF. Eat your heart out.
I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know where to begin with that one.
I was really appreciative of the Waluigi cam that we got.
Yep.
As we could hear even louder that.
Seth, why are you the way that you are? Seth, what happened?
Because he's the most entertaining meme in wrestling today.
Apparently.
Yeah. As CM Punk is screaming in the back to the back of the car to Seth Rollins, "Why can't you be normal?"
More memes from your good friend Sean McCarty on this episode.
That's right. Well, and then came maybe the most egregiously offensive thing that was said on commentary all night.
Oh no.
As Michael Cole mentioned that CM Punk met Jesse Ventura, like all that Jesse Ventura was on Raw, right? As Seth was getting his way to the ring, and then Corey Graves said, "Well, I don't think the body ever sparkled as much as Seth." Bitch, have you ever seen Jesse the Body Ventura in his prime? That was his whole thing. They're the same person. What are you talking about, Corey?
I don't know. Seth Rollins is a pretty sparkly man.
It's because he has the budget for it. He had a pocket for that. Don't give me this horse shit that he was not the same level of glitz and spritz as Seth Rollins. He was the guy doing it before people were doing it.
So you're saying that Jesse Ventura would have been doing Seth Rollins' gimmick if he was around?
Well, why don't you tell me if you're such a
patriot? God damn it.
Anyway.
Oh, my God.
Here comes Drew, and the look of intensity on Drew McIntyre's face.
Yep.
Was so good. And CM Punk coming back and going, "Oh, it's 2009." And, well, 2010, technically, because he's shaved. But he looked great. The crowd was into him. This crowd was rabid.
Mm-hmm.
This crowd was actually rabid for this match.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe this was the peak of the crowd for the night. I think
absolutely, because this was the match that everybody wanted to see for basically months now. This has been a 9-month feud.
And this is their first match.
Yeah.
And their first match.
And and Punk throwing his jacket on the Seth. That was great. This was just amazing. And when Seth turned around and the crowd was just eating up the moment. CM Punk and Drew looked like the shot that they made was like a Mortal Kombat shot.
Mm-hmm.
As Punk is, rotating back and forth on his feet, and Drew's just standing there like ready to. It was great. It looked like a scene of a fighting game, and that's exactly what you want that atmosphere to be.
What I loved is when Seth finally rang the bell. He didn't move out of the way. He jumped out of the way so they could wail on each other. And I love that.
And I thought Seth did a really good job on this night. There was only one time that I thought that he was a little bit more into himself and it hurt the match, but that was only one spot. And every other time, his piece of this added to the whole dynamic of the fight that Punk and Drew were having.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I really, really, really didn't like was the fans, because we cannot have a fucking show without the chant.
Which one?
They want tables, even though this wasn't even a no disqualification match.
Didn't matter.
Well, it was very clear that Seth Rollins were going to let these guys do whatever the fuck they wanted. So I mean,
he took a chair from. Hold on, no, actually, he took a chair from Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, that was a
he didn't disqualify either of them when they reached 5 on stomps and kicks.
That is true, but he didn't let them use weapons.
He didn't count them out when they were outside the ring.
Which was actually kind of funny because he was just laying on the ropes.
Yeah.
Just being like, all right, I'll just chill here then. Y'all
tranquilo.
Once again, AEW, if you want to have people fighting for hours on the outside of the ring, make it make sense. Like this.
Well, I do have to say it is kind of interesting that they have Rollins rules and Bloodline rules on the same show. Just so they could but I actually think that, and this is kind of part of my controversial take, I actually think that Rollins rules was a better construct in general. Mm-hmm. I thought this match flowed better, all things considered. And
I agree.
But they did the point where Drew was doing the slams of the head while Seth was like tied onto the steel steps while Seth was like, oh, let me just tie my shoe here. And it was just really nice how Seth was just like, yeah, I know you guys want to beat the hell out of each other, and I know I'm a referee, but, they made the most out of what Seth didn't see.
Mm-hmm. Because they were acknowledging under normal circumstances there would be rules for these things, but because it's Seth, he's like, oh, what's that over there? I'm sure nothing is happening.
The fans are singing my song. I'm going to dance to it. Oh, you're doing something? Oh, I have to be serious now.
I didn't see it. If I didn't see it, they didn't do it.
Well, and what's funny is that in kind of an ironic way, this kind of reestablishes to the fan base like just what the rules are or are supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Like 5 count, disqualification. Hey, don't stop calling to 5. Respect my authority. And, I could count to 10 and he got to 9. He's like, fuck it. And, it's like they're kind of reestablishing why, like, that these are normally, like you said, that these are normally rules that they're breaking and they're allowed to be broken because the official has that discretion to do so. Mm-hmm. But it also reminds people that rules are normally important.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lie, that spot where Drew McIntyre has CM Punk underneath the ring guard and he's going to spring him up into the ring like metal post, and Rollins is like, don't do it. Actually, you know what? Go ahead. I don't care. And that was a particularly brutal spot.
I loved that.
Yeah, me too.
I've never seen that before, I don't think.
I've seen it a couple times, but not as of late.
Yeah, and it was doing...
WWE doing spots we haven't seen in a long time?
I know.
What is this?
I know.
They've been making a habit of that. We saw Burning Hammer this year.
Yeah. And it got a 1 count.
It got a 1 count. But
it woke Cody Rhodes up because Cody Rhodes is the ultimate babyface.
Well,
we got a vertebreaker this year.
Yes.
So that's they're really, we got the brainbuster on the turnbuckle this year.
We got an accidental brainbuster on this show from the top rope.
Yeah, but that one wasn't meant to be one.
And it made it even more horrifying.
Doing it at Mania, which was meant to be one. But in any case, I loved when Drew went for the cover and Seth went down like both of his knees had arthritis. He was like, "That's my knee, man. I was just hurt,
Yeah, I loved that. I loved that.
He got down like he was 80 years old. It was so good.
And I was thinking maybe he doesn't want to damage his really weird Sabu pants.
Yeah, which is what they were called later.
Yeah.
Which was really funny. But I loved that, and he even mentioned the bad knee, and then Drew just yeeted Punk after that.
Yeah.
And we get this sit-out powerbomb, and it's a cover, and Drew's like trying to yell at Seth, and he's like, "What do you want me to do? It didn't work. Do better."
Do better. Hit him harder.
Yeah, I thought Seth added a lot here just with those little commentary bits throughout all of this, and just the dynamics of all three of these, and because you didn't really know what to expect going into this match, it also, I think, kept the attention of people so much stronger than normal.
Mm-hmm. And everyone was like, hopefully CM Punk can have this match and not get injured, so we were also kind of watching Punk closely, hoping and praying, don't break anything.
Yeah.
Although Drew McIntyre did his best to try and break him, because there were so many spots where, he easily could have gotten hurt.
Yeah.
They must have a lot of trust in each other to not, break anything.
Yeah, well, but they kind of played around with that, too, in this match. And then there was the chair, where they thought he was going to, Seth wasn't going to take the chair away from Drew, and then finally did. And they did the SummerSlam 97 spot almost, but then Seth doesn't hit Punk, goes to put the chair away, and as Seth's putting the chair away, Punk goes for a roll-up, and Seth misses it, and it delays it by a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just... They really pieced this together well.
They did.
And then the angle part of the match started.
You don't say.
This will not be the last time that will be said on this night.
Or the next to last.
As Punk tries to get the bracelet off and actually does. But
the first thing first is that Drew pulls the bracelet out of his trunks, which is gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has the bracelet next to his Big Daddy Drew.
Yeah.
Next was
Hopefully
Claymore.
not attacked. Yeah. But in any case, it was sure down there, but Punk finally saw it and started yanking the bracelet off. And, he got it, and he went to get it, and was about to pull it on, and then Drew hits a Claymore, cover, 1-2 kick out, but the more important part of that is that Seth, who saw the bracelet, takes it and wears it just to get it out of the way, allegedly.
And as soon as I saw that, I went, oh shit. Oh no. Seth, what have you done? Because I knew there's a very good chance that Punk's going to see that and flip out.
Well, remember, keep in mind, Punk had him in the Anaconda Vice. He should have won until he saw the bracelet and then took it off of Drew McIntyre.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird to me that they're making a friendship bracelet as important as it is. But hey, I'm here for it, okay? Mm-hmm. If Triple H can get a friendship bracelet over, then he's the Booker of the Year, no question.
Yeah.
In this case, the bracelet is just the plot device here to sell Punk's paranoia. And that is just the best.
Mm-hmm.
And Punk, to be fair, Punk's selling him being paranoid like he used about everybody trying to get him, and him finally being like, I gotta look over my shoulder at all times, and that it's just exactly what he needs to be right now. Because he's so stupidly over, but it shows that there's still the flaws in his foundation, and it's making him uncertain about his moments and clouding his judgment because he's seeing red and he's got all this vengeance on his mind, but he keeps thinking that Seth's trying to screw him. It's so good. It's so
now
really
again.
good.
the thing what happened here is that Drew McIntyre ran into the post, so we're 5 for 5.
Yay! Hurrah!
And we all pop, but the CM Punk is getting ready for the GTS. He sees Seth Rollins has the bracelet, starts yelling at him to give the bracelet back, and then Drew runs into both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And Punk gets the GTS, and Seth Rollins gets knocked down because Drew ran into both of them. Seth gets back in, doesn't count quick enough, and Punk is cross-eyed, livid, angry.
Yep. Great way to describe it.
Yes, and it's
no, legitimately, CM Punk went cross-eyed for a second. That's how angry he was, yelling at Sabu and his useless Sabu pants.
Yeah, and I got to give credit to Seth here because Seth bowed right back up at him, and almost like it made it look like Punk, like, because Seth was actually saying accurate things. Like, look, this is why we view you the way that we view you. Like, you want us to accept you, shape your shit up, like, focus on him, not on my, not on me. This isn't about you, like, and that moment was great because it almost looked like Punk had matured and he felt like, yeah, you're right, and focused, like the voice of reason had prevailed. And then the GTS to Seth.
Yep.
Which got a ridiculous pop. He goes over to Drew, and Drew hoofs him in the nads.
Oh, yeah, and the crowd was like,
His GTS, CM Punk stands over and says, "It may never be about me, but it's never about you."
And then he gets hoofed right in the balls, and the crowd's like, oh. And then Drew claymores the shit out of him. And then, to make it even better, Seth is like, I hate both of you. Counts 1, 2, hesitates, 3. Mwah. Mazel tov, 100 out of 100 stars. It was perfect.
And the best piece, Drew takes the bracelet back.
Yes! He's such a dick, and it's great!
It's
right. And all this mess, CM Punk got the bracelet from Rollins' arm, and Drew sees the bracelet and takes it back.
And Punk can't do anything because he's unconscious. Drew is such a petty little dick, and it's the best thing. This is the run of his entire career.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
I think Drew has actually carried this feud more than Punk has.
I agree, because he's been around for all of it.
And that's no knock on CM Punk. Every time he's been there, it's been gold.
Mm-hmm.
But Drew has been on a level that no one else is on right now. And
honestly, Drew McIntyre probably looked at the bracelet as more important than the World Championship. And that's saying something.
Well,
that is pretty funny.
That is such a thick layer, and the story of this is that Punk's overall paranoia ended up screwing himself over in this ultimate moment of this lust for vengeance went too far in his own head, and it ended up costing him everything that he was trying to stand for. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much more space to go on this. This is like another year's worth of booking they have.
Uh-huh.
Because they've got matches with Punk and Rollins that they can work on. They have more with Punk and Drew, clearly. And they have more with Drew and Seth. And it doesn't even have to involve fighting each other. They could literally wrestle 3 matches between now and WrestleMania, and the people will eat it up every time.
You could honestly advocate for all 3 of these guys being the final 3 guys in the Royal Rumble. Heck, you can advocate for all 3 of these guys being in the triple threat at Mania next year.
Well, I think right now, unless something insane happens with the Bloodline, this is by far feud of the year.
Oh, agreed.
By far. Unless something insane happens with the Bloodline.
Roman pulls out a shotgun and executes Solo Sikoa.
Yeah. But
I mean, it has to be The Rock coming back and feuding with Roman.
And I don't even know if that would do it at this point.
No, because for the body of work that this feud has been, again, ever since CM Punk returned and made egos get bruised between Rollins and McIntyre, the whole thing at the Rumble, the issues between the 2 of them, and the 3 of them actually at Mania too, because remember, CM Punk was on commentary with Rollins and McIntyre at Mania, and all the stuff that's happened since, you can't pin it down to just two guys hating each other. It's all three of these guys legitimately hate each other. This is a triple threat that I want to see.
Agreed.
This is how you build a triple threat properly.
Oh, yeah.
And even better than that, this is old school pro wrestling at its finest.
Mm-hmm.
This is my kind of shit. Like
Me too. I love this.
This is the best. This would get over in any territory, in any piece of in the 70s and 80s. This would be over anywhere because of how well this has been put together by all the participants involved and the booking that's led to this point. The point where people were rabid, foaming at the mouths for the first time they touched in 9 months. They don't make feuds and matchups like this anymore, folks. This is something.
Hey, this is a different WWE, so maybe you can't even say that anymore.
I know, you're right. Because guess what? Both world titles main event were on the show last, too. Mm-hmm. When was the last time that happened?
Mm-hmm.
The last two matches were both the world title matches.
You're still salty about Backlash, aren't you?
I don't know what you're talking about, sir. It's Gunther versus Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight Championship as we see the Legends booth with legends such as a couple random guys and the Steiners and Kevin Nash and X-Pac and
DDP.
Moore? Hey, Jackie Moore. As even the commentary was surprised, like, oh shit, Jackie's here. Hey.
Now, before the match begins, there's a little vignette backstage where Damian Priest and Finn Balor are talking. They couldn't find Dom. Him and Liv Morgan left as soon as their match ended, which figures. And Priest apologized for what happened earlier tonight and says, listen, man, I love you like a brother. And Finn's like, hey, if you need help, just let me know, man.
And everyone was like, oh, angle alert. There will be more later tonight.
Before this, they were promoting a Damian Priest 24-hour documentary.
Yeah, they were kind of laying it on thick, weren't they?
And they even had Undertaker there, mentioning bisexual Undertaker.
I thought that was funny that Undertaker was the first talking head they showed.
They know the joke. They know the joke.
With people psychologically, and I'm here for it.
Agreed.
Because they made sure to put that Damian Priest babyface's fuck biography right before he had this match with Gunther.
Exactly. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, they're training their audience, and that's exactly how you have to do it.
Yep.
And I'm here for it. I am so here for it. Easter egg the fuck out of me, WWE.
Yes.
I am here for it.
Yes. Make these shows fun.
Yes. And
they did, because Damian Priest versus Gunther was a hard-hitting affair, to say the least.
This was so stiff.
And this was really good, too. I mean, it's weird that I don't view a Gunther match as my favorite on the show, but that's just because Drew and Punk and Rollins was so butt-fucking good that, there's nothing in my view that could have topped that on this night. As great as everything was, that was a piece de resistance on the show.
But then again, it's the matches that cater to everybody. You got the romantic subplot stuff with Dom, Liv, and Rhea. You have the sports entertainmentness that was Logan Paul and LA Knight. You have the best storytelling with Punk and Drew and Rollins. And this was the technical beat-em-up sluggerfest match.
No match on this show was the same as the one that preceded it.
Yeah.
Except for the ring post spots.
Well, that wasn't in this match, which made me sad.
That streak was broken because Damian Priest loves to do that over-the-top ring post spot instead, which never looks good because he just looks like he's slapping the ring post. But anyway, Damian Priest comes out and he shoots a 3D arrow graphic, and then they cut to another shot and the arrow shoots by that camera shot, which I thought was actually kind of funny. And that was like, okay, that's kind of a clever way to move the 3D graphic along. you shoot an arrow and then you change camera angles and then that arrow whizzes by that, like in the direction that arrow was shot.
They cut to outside the stadium and the arrow flies out of the stadium.
Oh, dude, I wish. That would have been hilarious. That would have been so good if they did that. Like, you know how they sometimes will have like the blimp shot.
Yeah. Oh God! they have a shot. They have a shot outside the stadium. The arrow flies into the blimp and destroys it.
We're not getting any more Goodyear blimp.
That's right. You know what? It'd be a Prime blimp. They slap that logo right on it.
And it would just catch on fire and just be the Hindenburg. The Hinden Prime.
Well, yes, indeed.
The Primenburg.
Indeed. And, so then, I love this part. And, oh, by the way, here's a fun game for you athletic kids out there. Every time that Sam Irvin clutches her fist to grow some balls, flex yourself. You're going to break a sweat.
No.
Yes.
Do some jumping jacks or some push-ups. You will be tired after match one.
Every time you see her flex, you flex, and you are going to burn some calories.
Yeah.
I did this. I tried this. It was worth it. Get a little yoga in. Do a little stretching while she's doing that, and I promise you will not be disappointed.
Wait, regular yoga or DDP yoga?
Well, DDP yoga is all about dynamic resistance, so you basically are flexing the entire time you're doing it. So, yeah, do some DDP yoga. And I promise you will lose weight with the Sam Irvin Flexing Her Balls program.
Get your copy today.
Trademark. Sweet. I'm sure that'll sell well.
I'll buy it.
As I know you will. That'll be the only copy. But while Sam Irvin is doing this, and that's not a knock on Sam. I like Sam. I do. It was just every time I see her clench her fist, all I'm thinking of is like her just reaching down into the cockles of her chestal section to pull that bass in her voice. And I like her a lot.
She was less irritating on this show.
She's been, by and large, the last 4 or 5 months, and pretty much ever since WrestleMania, way more tolerable.
Yeah.
She wasn't allowed in Saudi Arabia, but everywhere else.
Well, if she would have grown those balls, they would have let her in.
She has to keep working at it.
And then Logan Paul would fuss at her about the Olympics.
Oh my God, that's full circle.
Like a ball. Like a ball.
Like a ball. Absolutely. As Skyler is contacting his lawyer as we speak.
Oh,
but
wow.
I love this part because all the while Sam Irvin is doing all of this, Gunther never breaks eye contact with Damian Priest once.
Mm-hmm.
He is focused and ready.
Dude.
And I was actually kind of sad not to see Ludwig Kaiser, at least at the beginning. I would have liked to see him a little more grand in entrance for Gunther.
Ludwig Kaiser is injured.
I know. Well, then call me then. I'll do it. But it's... I already know you listen. I'll do it. So, anyway.
Give me Kaiser's entrance, and while you're at it, give me Kaiser's girlfriend as well.
I'll say this. I'm not going to ask for that much. If I get a phone call because I tell them to call me on a fucking podcast, I don't care what they want me to do. I'll do it.
So they ask you to do the ring entrance for Gunther?
We're doing another Manscaped ad. You want in?
I was like, where do you need me to fly? That would be the next word. Like, can you give me like a day to get there?
You have to go to New Haven.
Oh fuck! I'll get in the car. It's fine. That's easy. Anyway, we get another hot start, and we pretty much had most of these start hot, or at least have some sort of, with Liv and Rhea. That's not really a hot start, but normally we do a collar elbow tie-up counter, which is the point I'm making with this. None of the matches really had one up to this point, but that's fine. Because they all had a reason to start the way they started, and the one match that did have a collar and elbow tie-up was exactly the right match to have one. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's more about the context than it is the content itself.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And that just shows kind of the maturation of not only us as podcasters and how we used to do counters on that, but also just the maturation of how these shows look and feel now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where they can do 5 hot starts and one collar elbow tie-up, and nobody bats an eye about it because there's reason for it.
And 5 different kinds of hot starts that have different contexts and different reasons for doing so that all make sense.
Yep.
But again, like, all this to say that, like, Damian Priest and Gunther have one mission. That was to beat the tar out of each other.
I've seen people bleed a lot in wrestling. I've never seen someone look like they gigged but missed their head and got their chest. Christ.
Well,
that's the thing, is that Gunther's chest has been beaten before, so that was a previous injury.
Yeah, like, they had that match, him and Finn Balor on Raw, and his chest got a little roughed up in that one. But still, it added a lot to this match.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, and everything. Gunther definitely got a lot more out of Damian Priest, because this is all I ever want to see out of Damian, is this stiff shit.
Yep.
I've often found that I think part of why I don't like Damian's matches as much is that he doesn't always look like he lays it in. It's like sometimes it looks like he's executing moves and he gets most of it, and most of the stuff he gets most of. But sometimes in his strikes, it just doesn't feel like he has the oomph that he should for his size and the kicks and the background is high Ju, slumber background.
Did you notice that his 2 best matches during his title reign were against Gunther and Drew McIntyre, a.k.a. guys who are just as physical as he is?
Huh.
How about that?
Again, not that Jey Uso and Seth Rollins are bad, but when Damian Priest can go out with a guy who matches his physical level, that's when he's at his best. Again, that Sheamus match from SummerSlam, which they did mention, was a highlight in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, Seth Rollins isn't bad. I'll leave Jey Uso out of this, but
the match with Seth,
been known as like a super stiff person.
The match with Seth, they were more just on different pages that entire match.
Yeah, that was a match where they were like over anticipating the angle.
Yeah,
I think,
and until they missed it.
Yeah, and then they missed it. But anyway, one of the things that I've always liked about Damian Priest's moveset is the thunderclap.
Mm-hmm.
That gets me every time. It gets me every time. But then Gunther hits a crazy stiff and tight double arm suplex. And this is where I noted, like, boy, it seems to me like when the match starts, they don't really give a fuck about ref cam, do they? Those shots must be trash. They must have no good looks on these ref cams, because they're not cutting to them at all. But then Priest starts chopping the shit out of Gunther as Gunther's chest bleeds, and boy, did Damian Priest need to be the one to strike blood first. I didn't think so, but once it happened, I'm like, oh, this adds so much to this matchup now.
Dude, can I tell you what my...
Gunther had a physical match against Finn Balor on Raw, so that's why his chest was already pretty beaten up.
Can I...
Again, it just... guy, so I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you don't.
I don't. Yeah, I don't.
You should, though. You should, though. And you know what we're not doing right now? Watching Raw, because we're doing this. Because right now...
To the credit of Gunther and Damian, having not known that he had a previous injury with Finn, the perception of somebody who was just watching the big show that Damian Priest busted Gunther open himself, when Gunther's usually the one to leave mincemeat out of the other guy's chest, that was an exquisite piece of storytelling that I thought added a lot to this match.
Right, and even if Finn Balor had pre-damaged it, like, it's still impressive that Damian got Gunther to bleed.
Can I tell you my favorite thing that Gunther did in this entire match that involved the blood? And it was a really subtle thing that he did that I thought was just genius, and it just shows how good he is at this. He wiped his hand on his chest, got some of the blood, and then wiped it on his face to wipe blood on his face to make it look like, you know, even though we knew he didn't get blood on his head, like he wasn't busted from his head, he still wanted to have that look on his face.
Yeah.
That made me pop so hard.
Yeah, he's such a badass, man. And he knows exactly what he needs to do for himself. You know? Then we get maybe the best-looking exploder suplex I've ever seen.
Oh, it was gnarly.
And the crowd was getting behind this big time.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Damien as a babyface. They were ready for him to turn. The fans were ready for Damien, because I was wondering, like, how are you really going to pull Damien off as a babyface? But this night showed the fans were ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
They were ready for him to turn. And
I mean, it also helped that they were selling the storyline that Damian Priest had come up from nothing, have worked hard for everything he's ever earned. They made him likable versus the privileged upper crust European Gunther.
yeah, I love that upper crust. Before you bite down into the rest of the pie, it's my favorite. And that's what Gunther is, upper crust. And now he's got a golden brown band around his waist. As well, thankfully it's not brown, but that'd be something else here. But
that would be the New Japan TV title you're talking about.
Yes. Oh God.
That
oh,
fucking
God.
ugly box
We do not
cardboard
mention
piece
New
of shit.
Japan around here.
I do,
Speaking of-
and it makes me sad sometimes.
And speaking of squares, Finn Balor arrives as well, he is not as square jawed as Mr. McGraw. He does show up, and again, the pop of the straps never fails, man. Mm-hmm. Unless you're Eddie Kingston, it never fails.
Yeah, that's the one non sequitur.
But I would argue that Eddie Kingston failed the straps, not the straps failed Eddie Kingston.
That is also a fair statement.
This poor guy. This comes in catching strays from 3 marks on.
We have not been very kind to the less lean of us walking the earth on this show.
Yeah, we haven't been very kind to anybody today.
Yeah, and it's great.
Yeah, it's especially Richard. What the fuck, Richard? And anyway,
stop!
That one was forced.
Stop!
That one was forced. I could do better than that.
I didn't know where you were going with that, but when I was like, stop.
But you know what? At least I didn't look at Edge all surprised and go,
stop! Stop!
Okay,
You annoying bastard!
No. I want Gunther to go through the screen and chop you right now, Sean.
And you know he would, and then I'd go, "Oh my God, I can't believe you've done this."
I hate you. I actually fucking hate you. You piece of shit. I hate you.
I hate you so much.
Sean over here trying to bring back Vine.
Oh my God! And you know who was?
Anyways, Damian Priest.
You know who made his name on Vine? Logan fucking Paul. It all comes
Full circle.
circle.
You know what's better than
Anyways,
pussy?
back
A
to
really
the
good
circle.
match.
Damian Priest hits a comeback, hits a couple lariats, hits a powerbomb, hits his South of Heaven, goes for the cover, and as he goes for the cover, Gunther is near the ropes, and Finn Balor puts his leg on the rope.
The reaction to that, it was a little bit of a delayed reaction because Finn did it so quick, but the crowd basically went, no, you didn't. The delayed reaction was great.
I am about to get to the biggest problem I had all night and the actual biggest nitpick I have for hashtag bad formatting. Are you ready?
Lay it on me.
They put this replay on the video screen in the entire arena so that everybody can see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Including the referee. So why didn't he just DQ the match right there?
Because Damien's head was in the way of the Tron, so he couldn't see past it. You know, Damien's a big guy. So, you know, and he was checking on Gunther. You know, he doesn't have time to look up and see lights. You know, he's just a referee. He keeps his head down.
No, John.
The referees are very single-minded. He was tending, when he's doing one thing, he's blind to all else that moves. That's a requirement for being a WWE referee.
Because the referee actually said to Damien, I'm sorry, I couldn't do anything.
Well, he didn't do anything.
Yeah, he was apologizing for being useless.
This was great. This was a great match, but that one thing with the referee kind of ruined it.
I didn't notice it, so it didn't bother me.
I didn't think about it until the day after. I'm like, wait a minute, that was playing in front of the entire arena, so everybody in the stadium could see it, including the referee.
But also, Dev, is that count as getting physical if it's outside the ring? And then, in that case, why didn't he go out and just say, Finn, you can't interfere, you're out of here, and then have the rest of it go on? I mean, I understand your point. I mean, but considering the heat of the moment and that the finish was coming not 25 seconds later.
Yeah, because then Damien was in a submission hold, and the referee was focused on that, so he didn't really have time to eject Finn. I feel like me and Sean are grasping at straws.
It's a weak explanation, but I get it. It's whatever.
I see what you're saying. I definitely see what you're saying. It's I didn't.
There's one of those circumstances where the referee probably would have had to have been knocked out, and I don't think there was a ref bump all night, so you could have used a ref bump here.
No, we did. Well, no, who got hit? Seth got hit. Not the ref bump.
Oh yeah, you're right. That counts. Okay, fine.
So he went to sleep. I mean,
but anyways, the point is that Damian Priest sees this betrayal, gets attacked by Gunther, breaks out of the submission hold to grab Finn Balor's scrawny little neck, but Gunther again grabs him, power bombs him, put him back into submission, and puts him to sleep.
Well, before that, I just want to say the pop that Damien got when he got out of that first sleeper, holy shit, that place went insane.
The fans are ready for this man to be a babyface.
Exactly.
And he's going to be a hell of a babyface, I bet.
Exactly.
You know, say what you want about WWE subliminally injecting the fact that they want him babyface to the people in this mass hypnosis that they've been able to perpetrate. The fans are ready. Mm-hmm. They were ready for this to happen. They were cheering him before the match even started. You know, but with the way that Gunther has been such a perfect heel, even though everybody really likes Gunther, but because he's such a good heel at what he does, this was about as perfect as you could get it. And the sleeper, as Damien also pays for his lust for vengeance and takes his eyes off the ball for just the splittest of seconds, but also, I didn't know wrestlers had eyes. They can see the Tron. I mean, yes, the referee can see the Tron as well. And if this was the same, I don't think it was this match that had the referee. I think that was in match 3. But if it were match 3, then they could have seen the Tran. And
womp womp womp.
They could have. As I could have said something, but I'm not gonna. I'll just end it there.
Okay.
As the sleeper, but the fact that Damian Priest can see the Tron, that's kind of big for wrestling. Because a lot of times angles would happen in the back and the people would be in the ring and they'd have to act like they didn't see it.
I've only seen a wrestler acknowledge the Tron like that one time, and it's when Kevin Owens tried to attack Dean Ambrose on SmackDown, and Dean ducked under it and knocked him out of the ring, and he said, Kevin, I was turned away from you and I was looking at you on the screen the entire time. I saw it coming from a mile away. And that was like the only time anyone's ever done that.
Yeah. So for the significance of that acknowledgement, I'm willing to let the fact that the referee could also see it slide. Because that means that we have competent people with brains as wrestlers, which is not the way that Vince presented his wrestlers.
Now, may I tell you guys something?
Indeed.
Go ahead.
We're recording this show on August 5th, and there's a Monday Night Raw that's happening right now, even as we speak.
That I will be watching tomorrow.
Watch the show.
But on this show, Gunther has walked out as the new World Heavyweight Champion and asked, what's next for me? And out comes Randy Orton, who says, hey, you never pinned me, you just beat me. But let's see if you can do it again, this time in Germany.
Yes.
Randy Orton versus Gunther is going to main event Bash in Berlin for the World Heavyweight Championship.
I'm down, but fuck the brand split, I guess. Which is what they always do.
I don't care. Give me Gunther and Orton.
I know, but if you're going to make a big hullabaloo about having a brand split, then just stop doing this. Stop doing this half and half bullshit. Pick one and either have a brand split or don't.
Yeah, we're not coffee creamer, okay? Like
I don't drink coffee, so I don't get that.
Brand split debate another day. Honestly, it's stupid that they have a brand split in the first place, but whatever.
Yeah.
But give me Gunther and Randy Orton in the main event in Germany in front of Gunther's fans.
I'll take that. I will take that. They had an excellent match at King and Queen of the Ring.
And you know how everyone's been talking about how, like, Randy Orton is eventually going to betray Cody? What better way to remind people how good Orton is as a heel than to be in an arena where Gunther is by and large going to be universally cheered?
That is true.
That ought to be good. I love that idea. But this match was really, really good. It gives Damian Priest something to do. Gunther had to win this belt. It's time to really establish it.
And it looks so damn good on him.
And it looks amazing on him.
Yes.
A natural replacement for the Intercontinental belt, which also brings to mind the Intercontinental belt was originally back in the late 80s, early 90s, always meant to be used as like the elevation tool for people they thought would be world champions eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Gunther is the first person in a long time who has actually rekindled that notion.
Mm-hmm.
Will Braun Breaker be the next one?
Probably. Give it 3 years or more. Probably not even that long.
Not even that long. Maybe 2.
It depends on how long they want to run the Intercontinental title on him for. But it's. I think he's destined for a World's Championship at some point. But we'll see how long. They're going to take their time with it because they're taking their time with it now, and I respect that. And now it's time for the main event of the show. Before we get that, The Miz and R-Truth.
No.
No, we're not talking about it.
We have to mention it. If we're gonna talk about the beautiful face that was this show, we got to talk about the pimple on the head. Miz and R-Truth come out, and they give the attendance of 57,000 and 3 more numbers. And here comes, and this is what I wrote down. Oh crap, Waller in Theory. As these two do some very painfully rehearsed garbage back and forth. But I have to say, R-Truth did make me laugh. He's like, you know what, we're in Cleveland, it's the rock and roll, it's Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, he got his eye fixed. Ignoring the fact that the Rock and Roll Express are entering their 70s and that they've never had short hair ever. That popped me so hard. Not even the Rock and Roll Express reference, but he fixed his eye. Like, what an unnecessary pot shot.
And then Jelly Roll comes in and they do fun stuff.
They do the Jelly Roll. But what did make me laugh is like how nonchalantly Jelly Roll just got into the ring with the chair. Like, all right, I'm just going to come in here and fuck some shit up, but I just want to see how sneakily my fat ass can get into this ring. And that's exactly what he did. He's just like, all right, I'm ready when the time comes. And then, of course, the 2 very obvious kicks and the 5-knuckle or the 15-knuckle shuffle.
The lightest chair shot of all time.
The 5-knuckle shuffle, which is the move of the Miz's sworn enemy, John Cena.
The Miz is a babyface. Let's move on.
Is he though? Then why do I always boo?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is also too.
Folks,
at least Theory got up for the choke slam for Joey Roll. That was fun.
Folks, at some point there will be a 5-minute clip that was recorded prior to this podcast that will make the numbers that JoshAgeddon and I are stating make sense. But we get now to the main event of the evening. Cody
Rhodes. The main angle.
What I said before. Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa for the WWE Championship in Bloodline Rules. JoshAgeddon, why don't you begin?
I felt kind of similarly about this match that I did about Bayley versus Nia Jax, where the first half was just kind of there and things were happening. It wasn't bad, but it was just there. But then when the Bloodline Rules portion of the match started, then it started getting better. And overall, I thought it was fine. But man, it took a little while to get going.
Skyler?
Solo Sikoa has definitely gotten better as a wrestler, and as an entertaining personality, he has worked on himself. And he did enough to show that, yes, he can fight for a world title. Should he be a world champion? No. Not right now. He needs to continue working on himself, and he needs to get better before we can get to that level.
Also,
but he proves here that he has potential.
He does, but he honestly kind of proved what Cody has been saying about him, right? That he's not ready. Yeah, he's not.
Well,
he's trying. He's trying. And he has improved, but Solo Sikoa should not be main eventing a SummerSlam.
Well, here's the problem. I don't think that anyone in Cleveland had a doubt what the end result of this match would be.
Yeah.
Where there was a question, or at least some speckle of doubt, in pretty much every other match on the card.
Mm-hmm.
Except Nia Jax and Bayley.
I heard some doubt. I heard some tease on that. I think
there was no doubt. It was the reason why Nia Jax and Bayley and this match kind of suffered is that everybody knew what was going to happen.
I saw some people who thought that maybe Bayley would overcome that odds for Nia. I saw it. They were wrong, but I saw it.
It was way more prevalent in this match because.
But this match, I don't like quoting Vince, but I don't forget a line that he said of perception is reality. And I think that when people look at the matchup on paper, Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa, nobody's going, oh yeah, the title's changing. No one. Absolutely no one. And that's not a knock on Solo, but like you two just said, it's a sign that he's really not ready for the spot. And the Bloodline Rules was a crutch here. And weirdly, I actually have the exact opposite opinion of you, JoshAgeddon. I thought the first half of this match was really good. And once the Bloodline Rules started, I started actually kind of losing investment a little bit. And this is the big take, right? This is the big undertaker I was mentioning to the two of you prior to this podcast starting. They have to be careful. Over-relying on things like Bloodline Rules to give them excuses to do whatever they want in their main events. Even if it's for big shows, this demonstrated more than anything else that is a law of diminishing returns. There was only one good return, and that was what the end piece of this match was, but it felt very formulaic prior to that return. Because we had just seen basically this format at WrestleMania with bigger players.
Yeah, and it
I mean, that's the thing that I kept saying is that they're just repeating spots from WrestleMania.
And that was my big problem with this.
And another thing, not only did WrestleMania have bigger players, structurally the match between Roman and Cody was just better.
Well, yeah, that's also because, Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman and Cody Rhodes. And that's not to take anything away from Solo. One of the things I credited him for was that he was very good in this match especially as the match rolled on, the longer it got, and kind of vocalizing and going like, I'm gonna beat your ass. And he was getting more comfortable with talking a little smack. I think that's going to help him in the long run. If he does more of that.
I 100% agree on that point, and I even mentioned in the chat, when he started doing that, that's when I messaged the chat. It's funny to me that the Usos, or at least Jay, are considered such big stars, whereas Solo is so much better than both of them. Even though he's younger, and he's more verbose than they are, because remember WrestleMania when all we heard was "Come on, come on!" And in between the "come ons" was a super kick and spear and splash.
And that was it.
And that was it repeatedly. At least Solo can do more things.
Well, Solo is more dynamic, but he's also just now starting to develop a real identity.
Mm-hmm.
And he's getting there. He's getting there. I've been impressed with what he's been able to do, especially in the wake of losing the mega star that is Roman Reigns.
Mm-hmm.
Solo had a big set of shoes to fill when he decided to make them, when they made this move. And he's handled it.
Mm-hmm.
He's handled it, and I think that similarly to saying that Braun Breaker would be a world champion in 2-3 years, I would give Solo that same timeline. If he has. I knew you were going to man me, Sky, but I think he's got the potential. He's just now developing it, and it took some time, but the biggest thing that I felt was impressive with him this match was he was much more comfortable, especially towards the end of it, kind of being himself simultaneously as he's doing all these spots.
Mm-hmm.
And he's getting...
I won't disagree with you about the world title thing. What I disagree with you on is the timeline. The thing you also have to keep in mind is that Braun Breaker is showing his potential at 26. And Solo Sikoa is a full 5 years older than him. Solo Sikoa is going to get there, but I don't think it's going to be as quick as you think it is, because he still needs more time to figure it out.
Yeah, I agree with Skyler.
But remember, Sky, he's Samoan.
That is also true.
Well, I have a question for you. The run-ins that happened, would the run-ins have changed if either Pharaoh or Arn Anderson made a run-in?
No, I'm glad they didn't. I was actually afraid that Cody was going to bring Pharaoh out to the pyro because of how badly that went.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is that, they have the dog, and I get why they're doing the thing with the dog, but I'm just like, why is the dog here?
Babyface, man. Big Cody.
I know. Even John Cena never came out to the ring with a dog.
Maybe he should have.
He should have. If John Cena had the Captain Grimm helmet that Cody had, nobody would have been booing him. That's a fact.
As happy as that reference makes me...
see Glock Anderson back.
As happy as that reference makes me, Sean, what makes me sad is the only two people that are like, oh, Captain Grimm from Twisted Metal 4. Are you and me. Because no one else fucking knows that game exists.
No one else has ever played that game. And that's funny. But then when Arn Anderson shows up, I have to say, Triple H, you gotta start giving me some fucking credit.
It made me pop.
I know you listened, and you were in the same state as I am. You gotta start giving me some credit. At least throw me in that little tiny credits thing at the bottom right corner. Idea taken from. That's all I need.
Copyright of.
Credit. As Arn Anderson called some people from his time in ACPW to make sure that people had Cody's back. like Randy Orton, who is also an ACPW.
Yeah.
But Arn looked great. He lost a lot of weight, man. Arn looked great. He hasn't lost a beat cutting promos, man. I thought that it was pretty solid on his part, and it was a good reason too, and it was great to see him, and it just made me laugh. And then Captain Grimm, then he pulls his Captain Grimm hat in front of Triple H at Gorilla, and then goes out.
Yeah.
Because Pharaoh would have gotten scared if he saw him with his Captain Grimm mask on.
I don't like Twisted Metal 4, I like Twisted Metal 3. That's
right, yeah. Of course, Pharaoh, a renowned Twisted Metal Black fan. Love Snowy Roads with Outlaw, but that's a different story.
Only you two are going to get these references.
Yes.
Yeah, we've already
hey, people have actually heard of Twisted Metal Black, okay? I'll give Sean that one.
Yeah. Well, and then out comes Dashing Danny Angler, who's one of my favorite referees, and like he's gonna get hurt at some point. And then we get the one and only collar and elbow tie up, and it meant the most here.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had a wrestling match, and I gotta give Cody credit. Even though he's had a stipulation match a couple of times, like a Bloodline Rules twice, and an I Quit match, all of his matches start with a match.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the ring, actual competition match, and then shenanigans happen.
Yes, and then shenanigans ensue.
Yes, and you know, and I love the, you know, when Cody tried to do the drop down with the uppercut and Solo caught the hand. He's like, nope, we've done this before, you know, and the story of yes, I am improving. And then
they followed that with usually Cody likes to jump over his opponent when they're running at him in the corner into the big the Mad Dog Power Slam, but Solo stopped that as well
with a heel kick.
Yeah, and it looked great.
Yeah, and it was that was wonderful, and you know this match just a little bit reminded me of when Umaga was fighting DX in 2006. Like his matches on Raw with Shawn and Hunter in consecutive weeks did not look too dissimilar to some of the spots they did in this matchup. And, you know, like I guess we were asking whether, I forget what it was, that I think it was Saudi Arabia when Rey Mysterio or somebody hit Logan with the Prime Bottle, or Cody used the Prime Bottle, and we wondered is that a disqualification? It's not in Bloodline Rules.
No, it is not.
The first weapon of the night went to Cody with just a cup. Even
LA Knight hit Logan Paul with a Prime Bottle.
Well, that was before the match started, so it didn't count.
That's right. Cody uses the cup even though his opponent's name is Solo.
Sean, really?
You don't know how.
Okay, I have to tap out. That's it. That's the end of the podcast. Thank you.
We're not drafting anybody, Skyler. Why are you using your drafting voice?
Keep making more puns, Sean. Keep making more puns.
I'll take the puns over the constant Vine references.
Oh man, I will. Look at all those chickens. So we move on.
My God.
We're about to hit 3 hours. I want to eat dinner.
Me too. I have pork chops that I want to eat.
I was going to say, Skyler, you should cook some of those chickens. As
Jesus.
Solo did, you know, he started doing a little more smack talk. I love the idea of the technical breakdown on the power bomb, but Solo didn't get the legs over the arms of Cody, so it didn't work.
Yes,
and Corey did a great job of analyzing that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in all honesty, Solo kind of had his foot under Cody's shoulder, and the referee had to stop his count a little bit, and you're like, dude, move your foot.
Well, and you saw Danny Angler try to, like, look at the shoulder and then count anyway, being like, I mean, I've still got to count. Like,
Close enough.
And then we get a black hole slam.
Hold your clan.
And then the angle part of the match happened.
Yes, we get to this.
And this will be the last time I say it, but this angle part of the match lasted about as long as the match itself.
Yeah.
As as I wrote in my notes, I love how even in no DQ matches, Cody's gives 10 to 15 minutes of normal match first, and it's gone.
And it's gone.
As here comes the Gorillas of Destiny, called the Gorillas of Destiny, which was nice.
Still weird to hear from Michael Cole, but again, we're in a new era.
You know what? And I'm pretty sure that Corey or Pat said, "Oh God," right after that. I was like, "That's funny."
Yes.
I don't know whether he meant to do that, but that was funny. And then here comes Orton and Owens, and Owens comes first, and they gets over on him, and then they shoot him down, and then Orton comes, and this is after they'd beaten down Cody, and they did the standard Bloodline Rules style of beat down the guy, put the guy over the person they just beat up. Everybody turns at once to look at the crowd. 1, 2, kick out. Everybody turns back towards the center of the ring, looking kind of mad that it happened. And then somebody else comes out, fight, as Orton did, threw those guys out of the ring, helped Cody get a thing, helps Cody cover Solo, turn around, look at the crowd, 1, 2, kick out, turn back around, kind of mad that it didn't happen, rinse, repeat.
Yeah, this may or may not have been the most formulaic match of the show.
This felt like they jumped the shark so quick on a match concept.
Yeah.
Like, one was enough on the Bloodline Rules.
This was like going from The Crow to The Crow 2. Okay, maybe that's a little harsh.
Okay, dude, nobody's gonna get that reference.
But The Crow is a very well-known movie. You underestimate the power of references that me and Sean make on this fine evening.
I'll up the ante on that one. This is like going from The Room to the James Franco remake of The Room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Mark. And that could refer to anyone in the audience.
Basically, or any of these three podcasters.
Cody Rhodes gets the steel steps and hits Solo Sikoa in the head.
And it was legal to do so in this SummerSlam match.
Yes.
But not at Clash of the Castle, but whatever.
Not at last year's SummerSlam either.
Yeah, but that spear with the steps was gnarly.
Yes.
Looked great.
Also scared the shit out of me because the steps almost landed on them.
Yeah. And then comes Jacob Fatu.
Well, Solo Sikoa tries to do an ass blast to Cody Rhodes on that steel steps.
Yeah.
That's one way to phrase it.
Yeah. First off...
I forget the name of the move.
No, I think ass blast is fine.
I'm going to call it the ass blast attack from now on.
It's being called from now on.
Trademark.
But yeah, here's the other issue with this is that Jacob Fatu has the opportunity to what's the word I'm looking for?
Kind of overshadow Solo in a lot of ways.
Yeah, because he's just a more impressive person.
Well, for the brief time he was involved.
Yeah, because he moonsaults over him a couple times. Cody kicks out because of course what he does. Then Jacob Fatu puts Cody Rhodes on top of the announce table.
You're going too fast. Hold on, you're going too fast. Jacob Fatu puts Solo Sikoa on the Cody Rhodes, turns away, looks at the fans. 1, 2, kick out. Turns back towards the ring. Wild man shocked that didn't work. Now you can continue.
They need to really change up the formula with the bloodline and this stuff because it's not going to work if they do it all the time.
Yeah, you can't just do the same shit like this. This is kind of what made people sour on the Roman Reigns run a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of things they need to stop doing.
Frog splash to Cody and lands on the goddamn edge of the thing with his knee and ankle.
Yeah.
And he looked like he was legitimately hurt, and he acted like he was legitimately hurt. This was not selling.
Speaking of things that they need to stop doing, Jacob, I love you. You're super athletic. We get it. You need to retire the diving splash through the table spot because you're going to blow out. You might have blown out, but you're going to ruin your legs.
And when I realized what had happened, because he immediately started howling and reaching for it. I know he's a werewolf, but he started reaching for it. And he gets up and he touches, and the second he tries to get up and he falls back down, it was when he threw the office chair that I knew, oh, that's a shoot.
Yeah.
He's like, he could barely get up, but his look wasn't the look of, I'm hurt because of the impact. It's, no, I'm fucking hurt, and I'm fucking pissed about it because I just fucking got here.
I just won the tag team titles.
Yeah, he looked like shoot hot, like that had just happened, and because he knew that something went on, and I was terrified that, like Aaron Rodgers before him, he had torn his Achilles 4 plays in.
I mean, we'll see what happens. He was spotted in a walking boot, so hopefully it's not that severe, but we don't know at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't know what it is, but man, would that suck.
Yeah.
But anyways, they do a couple more things. Neither guy can win. And then the pop.
Dude.
We knew this was coming, and it was still deafening.
Yes, it was just like, wow. Like, have you ever gotten your eardrum blown out of your head?
Not like that. As out comes Roman Reigns with a OTC shirt, the original Tribal Chief,
and
something that I remember the NWL attempted to trademark.
Well, also, he came out to the version of his theme that was at WrestleMania 40 with the live choir. And honestly, I like that more than his original Tribal Chief music. So that made me happy.
Yeah, it was terrific. And he comes in, and immediately I had Bobby Heenan in my head. Yeah, but whose side is he on? And they kind of did that.
Yeah, they kind of did.
And Roman comes in and immediately spears Solo, and the loudest hoo-wah I have ever heard for him. This is the level of over that Vince desperately tried to make this dude pre-pandemic.
Dude, Vince McMahon wishes he would have been able to get Roman this over.
Yeah. This is silly. This is silly over. To some extent, I don't know if John Cena's gotten a babyface pop quite like this.
Yeah. It was ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. And then I love the idea that Cody and Roman never break eye contact, or at least Cody doesn't. And Roman Reigns does like this small nod like, listen, motherfucker, I'm not going to say this, but I acknowledge you. Mm-hmm. And leave. That was so good.
And it was also a look of, I didn't do this for you, I did this for me.
It's, again, the whole thing of, we have business, and we're going to finish our business later on.
But first, I need to take care of this guy.
Which Cody registered. I think he understood that. You know, because he gets his final crossroads 1, 2, 3, never breaks eye contact. You know, just in case.
Yeah.
But Cody also knows that I don't think that had anything to do with me. So I can't wait to see what they do with this.
Me too.
This was a beautiful payoff to this return. I just wish that the matchup prior to was not as... I wish I hadn't already seen most of it at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That's my thing. If I hadn't already seen most of that, like the Roman Reigns pop was the end goal of it, so it's fine, right? The mission accomplished. You still got your mission accomplished. But I felt like, save for that, this was the weakest thing on the show.
Nia Jackson Bayley was weaker because they didn't have a compelling story. At least Cody and Solo had good work in the first half of the match.
I will say, I'll say this might be the second weakest thing on the show because I feel like Bayley and Nia was not as good as this. And honestly, the work in the first half I thought was fine, but it went on for way too long. That was one of my things about this. Like, they could have accomplished just as much in shorter time, but because it's the main event of SummerSlam, they felt they had to stretch this sucker out when they didn't need to.
Well, and the crowd really was gassed too for a good first half of this. let alone the fact that it's Cody and Solo, right? It's let alone who it is, but it's also hard, in that respect. But it was still the tension between Roman and Cody at the end was just perfect, and it was exactly the right way to end the show. And then the post-show caucus started, and I was out of there.
And I also turned the show off at that point.
And so here we are at the end of the show, which means it's ratings time. Let's start with Skyler.
I thought top to bottom, this was one of the best shows WWE's done all year, set for WrestleMania. And I struggle with myself whether or not to give this a 10. However, thinking back to it, the familiarness of the main event, coupled with that oversight of the referee seeing Finn Balor put Gunther's leg on the rope, does bring this score down, unfortunately. I would love to have given this a 10, but I just cannot with those structural issues coming up. But it's still one of their best shows of the year, and this gets a 9 out of 10 for me.
Josh, again.
While I don't have the same exact issues that Skyler had, I agree on the rating. I'm also giving this a 9 out of 10. I wanted to go 10, I really did. But I felt that the Nia Jax-Bayley match was kind of just even though it got better as towards the end. Same thing with the main event.
The Jelly Roll segment.
And I didn't even watch that, so who is Jelly Roll? But the main event...
Nia Jackson move. The Nia Jackson senton, the Jelly Roll.
So all the Jelly Roll stuff, the Nia Bayley match, and the main event kind of being a little until Roman came out. That kind of dropped it a teeny bit for me. But all in all, this is the best thing they've done since WrestleMania. And this was a fantastic show from top to bottom. I loved it. I loved just about everything on the show. I am joining Skyler and going 9 out of 10.
Well, and I will also add my 9 out of 10 to this pool of consensus here, because I kind of in the same vein. I think I was just a little let down with Cody and Solo, even though it still got the end result, just because of how formulaic it felt. But anytime you go into a show like this and you're pretty much engaged throughout 4 full hours and you are not bored for the most part, and you're caught in it and riveted, and I laughed a lot on this show. This was a fun show, and I like that they're making fun shows happen and with good results. And to be incredibly selfish and conceited about it, every single one of the 7 of the YouTube shorts that I made, the YouTube predictions, which you can find on the Court Martial Podcast YouTube channel, have all of them were correct. Like, I pretty much nailed it from the gamut. And this is a point I want to make, because even Dave Meltzer said, yeah, it was kind of an angle show, but it was a fun angle show. And, was this going to be the place where you got the most technical matches? No, but I think that we got quite a lot of good technical matches on this show. And each one, it felt different and had a different purpose and accomplished a different end that made it. And honestly, the concoction that was Drew and Punk and Seth is like a once-in-a-lifetime kind of match. It was so good. It was so incredible. And right now, I'm not ashamed to say that is my front-runner for match of the year. That might be, as much as I loved WrestleMania's Bloodline Rules main event and what that meant and the significance behind it, that was pro wrestling, man.
The fun part is that there's competition for match of the year, feud of the year, show of the year, male wrestler of the year, female wrestler. Oh, not Rhea Ripley's winning that one. But anyway, the point of the rest of the awards, there's competition because they keep outdoing themselves, and if they can keep outdoing themselves, that's great. Now can I go eat dinner? I'm tired. It's 3 hours. God damn it.
You will, sir. You will, sir. I have one final word to say. Bleigen Spidibble no hit. No, I'm kidding.
What the pulling out a SpongeBob reference at the very end.
That's right. And, but but that's the way that we do it here, ladies and gentlemen. So we've got ourselves a fun time coming up the next time we meet, which I think is Bash at Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get our Germany on, pop open some brewskis, man, and we will see you then for what I'm sure is going to be yet another rabid crowd. Thank you all for coming to this wonderful edition of the Court Martial podcast, and we will be right back right after this because I've heard that Del Taco's selling free vodka. We'll see you next time.
I fucking hate you, Sean. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to and in remembrance of Vine, apparently. Like, I'm subscribing, all that fun stuff. And I will see you guys next time. Good night, everybody.